Staley's here. I'm here. Morales is here as well. It is the biggest thing that I have heard in quite some time that you are a Taylor Swift guy, that you have her entire catalog memorized is a surprise to me.
I wouldn't go that far, but I would definitely say that I am an anti-hero. So definitely I will go that far to say that. But, man, no, great to be with you as always. It's just a great time. Football season is in the air. The grass smells different. The grass is always greener. And it's always like the perfect weather here in Irvine. Like, there's so many places out there in the country right now, and every time, what does the news lead off?
Yeah,
the heat. Oh, tomorrow, burning temperatures. Make sure you got your sunscreen. Drink water. And then you come out to Irvine, to UC Irvine.
Nice little ocean breeze going right now.
You got the breeze. I'm like, dude, this is season.
It's funny. I was driving over today, and before I left the house, I was looking at NFL Network, and they're bouncing around, and they're talking to all the different camps and going here and there, and all you see is people
trying like reseed everything.
California. Here, it's very nice. The weather is absolutely perfect. Players are going to be out here on the field in just a little bit. We're going to talk with Stetson Bennett. That's coming up at about 6 o'clock this afternoon. So we'll talk with the Rams backup quarterback. Jackie Slater is going to join us here just about 15 minutes from right now. DeMarco Farr scheduled to join us, JB Long. So we are loaded up today. And we have our first game a week from yesterday, Kirk. The Rams and the Chargers will open up the preseason on Saturday at 6 o'clock. You know, I'll have the pregame show for that one as well. So football season just kind of, boom, it's here all of a sudden. Here we go all over again. Rams trying to get back on the right side of things under Sean McVay. This is uncharted. This is brand new, coming into a season with Sean McVay coming off of a year where they were 5-12 a year ago.
This is the reset, not the rebuild. We've got to make sure we stress that here in Los Angeles. This is not a rebuild. This is just a resetting of a lot of things.
What's the difference?
Rebuilding is saying, you know what? We have to start all the way over. Whereas that, and look, when you hear rebuild, let's think about it. A lot of us, we hear rebuild, the first thing we think is you're tearing it all the way down, right? You're starting from scratch. You're starting all the way from the foundation. But the load-bearing wall, no, you cannot move those beams. Matthew Stafford, same thing. But what you can do is you can add pieces around it. You can now reset how things are going to look while still being able to be one of the more competitive teams in the National Football League. Let's be honest, we've been here many a times, Travis. We're not talking Super Bowl this year.
No.
We're not. And it's okay. You're 2 years removed from a Super Bowl, 2 seasons removed from the Super Bowl, but yet you understand that what this season is really all about. It's resetting, being competitive, and hopefully making your way into the playoffs knowing what this season is going to bring for your future, not just for one season.
Yeah, it's a totally different jump-off point this season relative. Because last year we're sitting here right before the preseason. Sean McVay at the Coliseum. You heard Les Snead saying, we're going to run it back. Everybody got paid. Everybody's getting ready to go. Here comes Allen Robinson. There's new faces in the mix. But the expectations were through the roof coming into the season to try to be a repeat champion. And then really from the opening night against the Bills, it just went, okay, this is different. And then injuries started to happen. Poor play started to happen. And just they never really got on track at all last year. And it's just a totally different energy because it isn't you're chasing a Super Bowl run back. Right. It isn't we don't know what it's going to be with Sean McVay. We know what it's going to be with Sean McVay. He knows what he's doing. He puts together great football teams. But this is a new environment, which is let's see exactly what it is we have this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just difficult in the National Football League to repeat. The last team to do that was the Patriots, 2004, 2005.
20 years ago.
That was almost 20 years ago, where you saw a team that dominant go back-to-back and win. That was what kicked off the Tom Brady dynasty. Remember, people forget the Patriots had won like 3 in a 4-year span, and then Tom Brady didn't win another one for like 15 years.
Right.
Like there was a long gap in between, and that's kind of where I look at where the Rams is at. Last year, you wanted to run it back. You had all the pieces in place, and then the football gods maybe just weren't on your side last year because we saw just unprecedented injuries to certain players. We saw unprecedented ways to lose football games that are very Sean McVay-like, I would say. And so you have a different perspective, I think, this year. I think everybody never really had a chance to take a breath, just to take a big, deep breath from
the Super Bowl season into last year.
Oh, man, think about it. Sean McVay and the Rams had won a Super Bowl in February, right? The first year of the 17 games, 18-week season. So you had the long season. Then you had a parade that went like the week after. And then the week after, you're going right into
draft prep.
But also you're having to replace 8 coaches.
Right.
So you got that process going on. Then you go through free agency, Trav, and then all of a sudden people forget Sean McVay was still trying to plan a wedding.
For the second or third time. It kept getting postponed because of the pandemic and everything else. I just wondered because it was – last year got off to such a weird start.
It did.
Never really got. Can you just flush it? Can you just pretend? And I know that every season happens and it happens, but coming from the Super Bowl season into last year, ton of optimism and everything else. And coming from a season where you just had 5 wins, coming into a season where you have 40 rookies, you've got an average amount of experience that's less than 2 years per guy across the whole team. It's really top heavy as far as their experience goes. Can you just kind of wipe the whole thing clean and start from scratch and just with hey, let's see what happens with this season? That whatever happened a year ago has nothing to do with what we're about to see this season.
Yeah, you can wipe the slate clean, Travis, because those aren't. This room is different.
Yeah.
You walk in that locker room, it's a whole different team.
I remember you said that at one of the first seasons we were doing this together, that on that last game, whether it's last regular season game, whether it's the last playoff game, even if you win the Super Bowl, it's like, this is it for this team. This team will never be together again. Yeah. Guys go to other places, guys get cut, guys retire, coaches get fired, coaches get hired in other places. That the team is never together again.
That's one of the realest things I've ever seen, Travis. Like, you try not to get sentimental in that moment, but I remember I had a coach that came up and told us, it says, look, it was the last meeting of the season. We're all in the room. And he said, I want you guys to look around at each other. And it was like, all right, I remember looking around at everybody. And then he said it, just know, this is the NFL. This room will never be the same. There will be new guys. There will be draft picks, undrafted free agents. There will be new guys in this room, and a lot of guys won't be here. It's not because we don't like it. It's just a part of the National Football League. And I took that, and I said, wow, that's what the Rams are. This team does not look the same as it did last year. So it's a lot of new pieces, a lot of new faces, and a lot of, over the last couple of days since being here, a lot of me looking down at my roster saying, wait, who was that?
Yeah.
Wait, what number was that?
Double-checked a few times myself.
Yeah,
faces to be sure.
Oh, by the way.
Hi, Chris.
Hi. Producer Emily, we still need to get this Taylor Swift update from last night, but we'll get there. Jackie Slater, the legend's on his way over.
I did not want to rush her into it. I want to make sure
understand.
she has lots of room to get into this.
Exactly right. But we interrupted the end of Angels baseball to begin our broadcast. But it is a final.
And?
The Mariners won in 10 innings.
Wow.
3-2.
3-2.
3-2. That's 6 in a row for the Angels.
Yeah, it's not great.
They have not won a game since the trade deadline.
This their website, the Angels website. Of course, we're partners with the Angels, so we're not being out of turn here.
No.
Unlucky bounce ruins the rally. Was it a good rally?
No. Last night was the unlucky bounce that ruined the rally.
Oh, that was last night.
Yeah, tonight I don't know what happened.
Friday night I saw when Shohei struck out.
Yeah, that wasn't great.
That was not great.
What are you going to do? 6 in a row.
His swing looked like Kirk at the at our All-Star game.
Yeah, we need to talk about that
July.
too. Like, did you not get the pitches that you needed to hit? What happened exactly?
Like I said, there's a kryptonite, right? His name is Ron Mitchell. Just me and Ron, we just don't mix.
Everybody else seemed to hit him okay.
I mean, I got on base a couple times, but everybody's like, I was 0 for 3 in home runs. See, my I'm like on the LeBron scale.
Oh, you're being measured against your own self.
Yeah, I measured against my own. It's like, how'd you do? I went 0 for 3 in home runs, but technically I went
you were on base
2 for 3. I was on base.
You're more like an Ichiro. You're not like Barry Bonds. You're on base all.
I don't hit home runs. I get, I'm disappointed.
Rams legend Jackie Slater is scheduled to join us coming up in just a little bit. It is a Rams training camp special out here at UCI. Lots more to get to right here on 710 ESPN.
There. Oh, man.
Beautiful day out here at UC Irvine. Players coming onto the field, getting ready for another day of workout here at Rams training camp at UCI. As promised, we are joined by a legend of Rams football. Of course, he is a Pro Football Hall of Famer as well. Talking about none other than Jackie Slater. Jackie, it is a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. got a lot of nervous energy going on, man. Because whenever I'm at training camp, I always felt like it's time for me to do something, time for me to get going.
It's funny, Jackie. It was literally the first thing I was going to ask you. Does it ever go away when you come out here and you see the fields with the lines? You see guys in uniform. Does it ever go away?
No, that little, I said a little bit of anxiety. It hits me every time I come. But then I started thinking about it. I'm saying, man, I don't have to go out there and block Aaron Donald. I don't have to go out and deal with Jack Youngblood. I mean, so it's a calming, and when you think it through, it calms you down. And then for me, I just take so much. I took so much pride in the position that I played in the offensive line. I'm just fascinated with the size of these guys, like Rob Havenstein, 6'8", 330. I'm fascinated with him. When I came out here last week, I saw them run a tackle trap where they pull the man that size all the way across the formation to trap on the other side. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, these are the type of running plays. These are the type of running plays that shows a lot of imagination, and I'm expecting even more of it with Ryan Wendell, the new offensive line coach. He played at the Patriots.
Yep.
And probably, we look at the Patriots when they win all those Super Bowls, and we think about Tom Brady and his excellence as a passer. But one of the things that was going on in New England during that same time that Tom played was probably one of the most dynamic running games in all of pro football.
Dante Scarnecchia.
With Dante Scarnecchia and Ryan Wendell. Ryan Wendell, was one of their players. He played 3 different positions, both guards and center. So I'm looking for him to bring a lot of stuff to the table.
One of the joys that I get every Sunday in covering the Rams, especially at SoFi Stadium, me and Travis both share in this one, is watching Jackie Slater watch a football game.
Watching me watch.
Yes, watching you.
You are the most passionate person I've ever seen watch a football game, because you are on the field and yet you're in the box. You're like, oh, get down in there. There we go. Oh, man, no. Stab him with the left hand.
Yeah.
Like, no, there you go. Like, it is probably, trust me, the joy that we get watching you and how passionate you are. Because there are some people who like football, and you've been around people who like football, but then there's some people who love the game, and it comes out through them, the way they talk about it, the way they see it. We wanted to tell you that because we can see the passion when you watch the game.
Oh, that's cool, man. That really, I think it hits home with me, and I think it's very true because, I came a very difficult road to get to here. I was a guy that went to an HBCU, and I asked one of the young scouts after I had been drafted by the Rams. I said, they came to Jackson State. They looked at Walter Payton. They drafted him number 4 overall the year before I came in the league. They drafted Robert Brazile, number 6 overall the year before I came in the league. Also, Gary Big Hands Johnson from Grambling was drafted, I think, number 8 overall, a defensive tackle. And so I was projected to be a first-round pick, and then I got drafted in the 3rd round. Not that that's bad, but if you're thinking you're going to be a first-round pick, you get drafted in the 3rd, you're a little disappointed. So I asked this guy, we got pretty friendly. I said, why do you suppose I didn't get drafted in the 1st round like everybody thought? He said, Jackie, everybody knows that an African-American offensive lineman coming from an HBCU hasn't been exposed to the technique that we use at this level. And, there must have been something to it because during this particular time, they were the NFL were bringing entire HBCU coaching staffs for a week to various teams all around the country.
Wow.
So, Jackson State's coaching staff will go here, and, Grambling's coaching staff will go there, and Texas Southern's coaching staff. That was the way they did it. And then they ultimately changed it to the head coach that was at the 49ers. It's the minority coaching internship.
Oh, yeah. God.
Bill Walsh.
The
Bill Walsh internship program, I think
correct.
is what it is. And it specifically targets African-American coaches to come to be at the training camp. But the difference is that those coaches can be from USC, UCLA. They don't necessarily have to be from an HBCU. So I said all that to say this. When someone tells you that they don't think you belong because you haven't been taught, then you're going to figure out what it is that they're doing,
right.
And you're going to try to do it as well as anybody else. And that was one of the things that motivated me.
Jackie Slater joining us here at Rams training camp at UCI, Hall of Famer, 7-time Pro Bowler, Rams legend. So Kirk and I were just talking a little bit ago, Jackie, about this season being kind of a unique one in the Sean McVay era because the first time Sean McVay showed up in, when the Rams had just come back to L.A. their second year, no one really kind of knew what to expect, right? It turns out they were really good right away and had been good every single season up until last year. It was a little bit of a surprise. This is a 5-12 season. What are your expectations for this group, and what do you think it's going to be like having to look for that bounce-back season for the first time as the head coach of the Rams?
Well, it's going to be interesting, and there's no doubt about it. They got upwards of 40 first, second-year guys on this roster, and that doesn't bode well when you talk about competing against people who have been doing it for a number of years, who haven't had a wholesale turnover in player and personnel. So you look at it and you say, okay, well, there's not much hope. But this is the thing that I think the Rams were banking on. They were banking on the fact that Sean McVay has done it before and that he can do it again. And one of the things that Les Snead showed me in this past year's draft was he went out and he drafted need. It started off with a Villa. They needed a big, wide body that could play with them guys down inside. They brought in need, but then they also brought in need that had leadership capabilities. I don't know how. I think the last time we counted of the guys that they drafted, what was it, like 14 draft picks?
14 draft picks.
Of the 14 draft picks, I think 9 of them were team captains in college.
Interesting.
You bring in that kind of leadership. They know what it takes to be successful. They know it's going to take some growing pains, but they know how, once they hit that level, how to put the pedal to the metal and keep it rolling. So with that many young guys, with that much leadership, it encourages me. And I think that, as I said, Sean McVay was the first piece that had to fall in place. And now they got all this young, talented guys, big, talented, fast, strong guys that can play the game, but they just haven't played at this level. And that's what's going to take a little bit of time.
Jackie, seeing you, we were just reminding each other just about the gold jackets, right? Especially when you were a coach with me with the Raiders. I had 4 coaches.
Wow.
You were one of them. Fred Blitnikoff, Art Shell, the late Willie Brown. And I always think of this Hall of Fame weekend. Yesterday, we saw a lot of guys get inducted. Joe Thomas, Rondé Barber, Zach Thomas, a guy who I watched playing at the linebacker position. Just for the people who don't get a chance to go to Canton, just the experience for you when you think about the Hall of Fame and in your induction and you putting that gold jacket on, what first thing comes to mind?
It's an unbelievable feeling. It's an unbelievable accomplishment. To have people vote you in on the first ballot, first opportunity you get to go in. I remember going to Canton. They wanted me to go and do a viewing of my bus once they placed it in the area where they keep all the bus. Right. And I remember going in there and I looked at my bus sitting there and for a minute, and then I looked at all the different bus that were surrounding mine. And they were names of people that I've heard about over the years. And I, for a split second, I thought to myself, man, maybe I better get out of here because before they found out they put me in. and then at the very next moment, I began to ask this question. I wonder if this guy worked the way I did. I wonder if that guy worked as hard as I did.
Yeah.
And so from that moment, my quest has been, every year that I've gone to Canton, is to meet a new Hall of Famer, whether he's a recent inductee or had been in there for 10 years, is to meet that guy and talk to that guy and find out what motivated him. I've been curious to find out how many guys thought the way I thought. Was there a level of thinking with these guys that I never attained? And it's just amazing when you meet people who have accomplished what they've accomplished and you find out what motivates them. That's the reason why I go back to Canton. Not to be heralded, not to be pat on the back, but I go back there to meet fellow Hall of Famers and to get to know them.
Jackie Slater joining us here at Rams training camp at UCI. I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. You mentioned one of the things that you told yourself when you came out here was, I don't have to go block Aaron Donald.
Don't have to block Aaron Donald.
Put yourself in the mind of a tackle who does or a guard who does. This is one of the greatest guys to have ever played that position, maybe the greatest guy to have ever played that position.
There's no doubt about it.
How do you slow him down?
You know what? That's a good question.
Yeah.
And I have often looked at Aaron Donald, because I play guard and tackle. I have often looked at Aaron Donald, and in my mind, I've thought, would I do this to him? Would I do that to him? Can I do this? Can I do that? I'd have to do this. I'd have to do that. And the thing that I think, the only way you're going to have a chance to neutralize a guy like that, especially in passing game oriented football like we're seeing in the NFL right now, is that you got to make Aaron Donald defend a lot of different types of blocks. You can't just serve up your classic inside zone and outside zone away from him and to him. You can't do that. You got to serve up. You got to make him think you're on the backside when the ball is inserting on the front side, and you can't just sit there and throw a 5-7-step drop consistently. You got to throw a 3-step drop, 5-step drop, 7-step drop, and you got to use play action pass and mix all that. You got to make a guy like Aaron Donald play a lot of fronts, play a lot of different things. If you can do that, and that's got nothing to do with me as a player.
Mm-hmm.
As a player, I want to be
play calling.
As a player, I want to be equipped to execute a variety of different types of plays. But as a play caller, that's where I need the help.
Yeah.
I don't need him to say, okay, like I had one coach say to me, well, you're getting ready to block this guy this week, and we're not going to let him beat us. We're going to put you on the backside on him on everything. Every time we pass the ball, we're going to put the tight end next to you or send it back there. I told him, I said, wait a minute, no, let's don't do that. I said, let's do the regular offense and run everything. I said, put me on the backside of the inside zone. Put me on the front side of the inside zone. Put me on the front side of counter. Put me on a 3-step drop, a 5-step drop, a 7-step. Make the guy defend the whole field. Make him think.
Sure.
And that's the only way that you're going to be able to come close to neutralizing a guy like Aaron Donald. And I have yet to see the coach to do it.
How many years did you play, Jackie?
20.
20.
Yes.
Matthew's at 16. Matthew Slater. That's 36 years of football in the Slater household. Did you ever think that, especially when Matthew first got to the NFL, he's with the Patriots, his 16th year, I'm just thinking about the conversations, the stories that you and your son get to share. 36 years, and he's still going. I don't know when he's going to stop because I know he's in great shape. Always a great guy when I get a chance to talk to him, but 30
You met him?
years.
You met Matthew?
Yeah, come on, man. When Matthew was playing defensive back, kick returner, receiver at UCLA,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden he gets to the NFL, and I had to go try to block him as a kickoff return once.
Is that right?
That's why I don't do it no more. Right? You know, so but just the conversations that you two have about all the football you've been and the hard work. I remember seeing you at the Super Bowl once and seeing the joy that you had in watching him put on that ring.
Unbelievable joy. And, I didn't bring him around Ram camp that often. When I did bring him, most of the guys were out of town. It was in the off season, and he saw me work and got coached up by if you don't mind me sharing this, I'll tell you that there's a guy right now, Garrett Guimont, who was the strength and conditioning coach and one of the trainers with the Rams when I came. And he would take me out in the offseason, and he would talk about retarding the aging process. And he'd have me running out there. And then right after I got done running 220 or 330, he would send Matthew off, and then he would, come on, Matthew, lift up those legs. And my son, to this day, thinks that the work that Guimont put in with him, just made a world of difference in his training and everything. Anyway, Guimont, we need to say some prayers for him because he's not doing real well right now back in Pittsburgh. And a great guy, though, long-time Ram, and been with Tomlinson at Pittsburgh ever since he got there from Tampa. So he was a pillar in helping develop not only me, helping me play a long period of time, but helping to develop Matthew. Now, Matthew was a guy who never thought himself special. He never thought himself fast. He never thought himself any kind of special athlete, but he always had an urgency in everything he did to try to do his job. That was the one thing that I noticed about him when he was playing flag football. A guy take off running over there, and he's got the ball. Matthew was going to do everything he could to go and catch him. And, he ended up being a fast kid. He could run pretty fast. He was second in the state of California in 100 meter his senior year.
Wow.
And but he hadn't played a lot of football,
right?
So for me to watch, and I got to tell you this too. I used to look at a guy like him and say, you can get anybody to do what he does, covering kicks and whatnot, but you can't get anybody to throw the ball, you can't get anybody to cover, or block, and all that. And it's been humbling to me to watch arguably the best coach in the history of the National Football League,
Bill Belichick,
to draft this kid and put him in a position where he impacts games.
Yeah.
I mean, I played with a lot of really good special team guys, but I don't think I ever played with anybody that impact games the way he has over his career. It's been fun watching.
Jackie Slater joining us here at Rams training camp. Jackie, going back to talking about your son, 16 years. You played 20 years as well. You talked about the coach that you used to work out with and that would keep you, as young as you could for as long as you could. 20 years and 16 years, though, man, that doesn't happen in this league very often. That's just those are numbers that are so far outside of the norm. Is it Slater genes? Is it good luck? Is it hard work? Is it all of it?
Well, I don't know how much I'm going to attribute it to genes, because one of my biggest concerns right now is how his brain is handling all his hitting.
Mm-hmm.
I'll admit to you that I've had some issues, relative to the contact and everything over the years. It took me some time to admit it, but I have to be honest with myself and just realize that I've had some stuff going on, and that's the biggest thing that concerns me about him. Now, relative to him playing the game as long as he can, he loves it just like I did, and the good Lord has put him in a position where he can do it. And I'm never going to be. I can't say, hey, so you won't end up like me. I can't say that. So I just consistently pray for him and pull for him and hope that things are going well, and they seem to be. And the good thing is that he's not having to put his head on somebody like I did all the time. And
practice in particular.
That gives my wife and I a little bit of comfort that he's going to be okay.
Jackie Slater joining us here at UCI. Jackie, really appreciate you coming by, talking a little Rams football about your career.
Guys.
As well.
Glad I could.
Appreciate it a great deal. Thank you so much.
Good seeing you both.
You got it.
Can't wait to see you in the box again, brother.
All right,
absolutely.
I can't wait.
One of my favorites.
Take care.
One of my favorites for sure. Stetson Bennett still scheduled to join us. That's coming up around 6 o'clock. DeMarco Farr, JB Long. We got a whole bunch more coming. Talk some more Rams football. And, we're going to find out how Taylor Swift was last night from him. That's coming up. It's not Travis Lee. That's not today, Chris. Travis Lee is tomorrow at 10. Today is the Rams training camp special out here at UCI on 710 ESPN.
got 8 in, almost
8?
9, almost close to 9.
Okay, I'm giving you 9.
I love that. I'll take 9 all day.
I'm giving you 9. He played 20. What the hell?
Lap me.
Like, I mean, how do you survive 20 years? Like, I get it, and I'm not throwing shade at anybody. I get it if you're the kicker or the punter or something like that.
Yeah.
20 years as an offensive lineman.
That's a lot.
How is that a thing? How is that even possible?
I mean, first of all, they played at a time where they had the 2-a-days.
They're hitting every day in practice.
Hitting every day. It was a lot. So to see him and just to think about just the way football was played back then, you know what I mean? He had to really protect the quarterback. Think about it. Like now, there are things in place so that the quarterbacks are protected within the pocket.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can't dive low.
You can basically hit them from like the waist to the shoulders.
That's it, yeah.
That's about it.
Think about what they had to go through where guys were just coming in and just attacking.
Laying guys out.
Oh, man, laying the lumber every single time. Just 20 years? Like that's a long time. And for his position at the highest level, just unprecedented because we only see that from the quarterbacks. Very rarely do we see guys who play that long. And if they do, it's because they're the quarterbacks because they're able to kind of preserve their career a little bit. To play 20 years at the highest level.
You can't avoid the contact at left tackle.
Correct.
There's no way to I'll just get rid of the ball early. I'll slide. You're the left tackle. You're in a 4-second fist fight 75 times a night.
Exactly. So and they walk right into he walks right into Canton. No, just easy. That's just how it is for him because he put in the time and the work. And I thought it was just cool just seeing, talking about Matthew Slater. Played at UCLA.
Yep.
Went to Irvine High School, not too far away. And goes to the NFL and never really had a true position. He wasn't, he was a guy who wasn't really a receiver. He was a receiver, but he was like the 4th or 5th receiver, played primarily special teams, and has made a 16-year career.
Incredible.
Out of it in the National Football League.
I certainly had a good role model to follow coming through all that. All right, so we're watching guys getting ready to practice in here a little bit. See our quarterbacks doing some work over there. We're going to talk with Stetson Bennett coming up in the 6 o'clock hour. Look, fact of the matter is, you and I have been doing the Rams game since they came back to L.A. in 2016. We've been out here at camp every single year. We've been to all the games. We've been to all the playoff games, Super Bowls, and everything. This is the least I've known about this group of guys at this point in the season at any point. It is so many new faces, so many young faces, Kirk, that they got 40 rookies coming into camp. Obviously, that number is going to go down once you go through cuts and everything else, but the amount of experience is an NFL low, 1.7 years per man, and that's when you factor in Matthew Stafford and Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp, guys that have been around for a little bit, that this is an incredibly young group of football players.
Yeah, it's a group in which we don't know much about. And that's what excites me about what's upcoming because you're looking at a preseason that is going to be unlike any other for Sean McVay. Preseason has always been about you rest your starters, you rest the guys who –
He said he's going to do it different this year.
He has to.
Yeah.
I mean, you got some guys who need to go out and play. And I know you want to – in years prior, McVay wanted to preserve his players who are going to be out there for week 1. I think he is – right now in a situation where he doesn't know who's going to be available for week 1 in terms of who are my starters in some certain spots. Because we're going to have to call on some of these young guys to have to be starters. They got to go out there and play. I mean, the preseason definitely takes up a speed, a notch from training camp and the college game. But then from training camp and preseason, you go to week 1, that thing is in warp speed.
Right.
I mean, it is moving fast. I remember it took me at least 3 weeks. I remember the first 3 weeks of the season. That's finally when it slowed down for me. The first 2 weeks, I'll tell you.
Every season or your rookie season?
My rookie season.
Okay.
The rookie season, first 2 weeks, I couldn't tell you what happened. I know there were some mistakes that were made. There was a lot going on, Travis.
So stop right there real quick because are you talking about the decision-making as a linebacker, the position you played, that you have to make a lot of decisions in every play? Are you talking about that was too fast, you can't remember? You're just talking about the speed of the players, that they were moving so fast. I don't know what the hell I'm looking at.
BOF, both. Both of them. No,
both, okay.
Both good. Of them. No, honestly, because it was the speed of the game. The speed of the game is a lot faster. Now we're talking about the elite players now, the starters, guys who have been playing for a long time, who know all the tricks of the trade. So you had that one. But then the other aspect of it is, too, Travis, is that the information that is going on quickly, the moving motions, the different combinations of routes. What am I supposed to do on a defensive play? Things are moving at you fast. In training camp, to be honest, very little scouting, right?
Yeah.
It is pretty much you're just going to the foundation and implementing the game plan, the fundamentals of what you're going to do throughout the season. But once the season comes along, you are actually game planning against another team. So the preseason was like, okay, I got it down. I got it. And you get to the regular season, you're like, wait, what? They are actually trying to counter what you're doing defensively and find the hole in the defense every single play.
It's got to be such an incredible challenge for Sean McVay. And I've been listening to his interviews after practice and stuff and listening to him talk. And it's this balance of optimism, because he's an optimistic guy, and then the reality of that he's got a bunch of green guys. And there are days where a couple of days ago, today was not a good day for us. Then we took a couple of steps back. And to just kind of balance I'm a Super Bowl winning coach. I've been to the Super Bowl twice. This is as good of a start as anybody's had to an NFL career. We all know Sean McVay's resume. But at the same time, to realize there are going to be growing pains. There are going to be things that are just not going to be done correctly because they're brand new to this league for all the reasons that you just said. And to kind of accept that as the reality of it has to be an incredible adjustment for him, having known nothing but success in this league to this point.
Yeah, because the expectations from when he got here, he made them go up, right? As soon as the first season takes his team to a division
11
championship.
wins.
You win 11, and then you go to the playoffs. The expectations from now on is playoffs, conference championship games, Super Bowl or bust, because you've already accomplished those things. Just having a mediocre season, that's just not the case anymore. So you have to kind of now, for this season, the goalposts have been moved this season. They have been, and everybody around here can tell you that. It is extremely difficult to win a Super Bowl in the National Football League. It is extremely difficult to win a Super Bowl. The Rams did that. And to see how hard it is to get right back, you kind of lose yourself a little bit. And that's what Sean McVay keeps telling everybody. I lost myself last year. I did. Because you forget that every year it's about what we talked about, resetting, starting all the way over, and reteaching, redoing things. Where they just last year tried to just rely on our studs, okay? Let's just rely on Jalen, and we'll bring in a Bobby Wagner and an Aaron Donald. And look, we
Allen
still got
Robinson.
Cooper Kupp. You're bringing in Allen Robertson. We
Yep.
still got Matthew Stafford. And then all of a sudden, you get an injury here, an injury there, an offensive line that kept going through shuffles, and you realize the foundational pieces that we had talked about earlier, we didn't have that same foundation because the people who were the foundation pieces were not on the field.
I want to talk about some of those foundational pieces. We'll talk about Kupp. We'll talk about Stafford. We'll talk, of course, about number 99, Aaron Donald. It's all coming up from UCI. It is a Rams training camp special right here on 710 ESPN. Out in front of us right now. A little punt return. Something on. What? Did I miss something?
No, I mean, yeah, taking me back.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, just because a lot of these drills are for the young guys.
Okay.
If you notice, a lot of the guys who are out there, rookies, first year, second year players, you got to go out there and make the team. That's why you don't see Cooper Kupp out there. Well, I know he's a little banged up right now. But, your rite of passage, you got to earn your way off special teams. You know?
Well, you got to earn your way onto the team, and you've told me before that's one of the quickest ways to do it, right? That if you're one of those guys, that if you're a fourth, fifth wide receiver, third, fourth running back, or defensive back, or defensive end, or whatever, you're going to have to play a little special teams. If you want to make yourself valuable, you better be able to play teams.
You got to play teams. I did it. I did it for a while, and it was very difficult because in a football game, especially in the early parts of the season, you want to conserve your energy. You want to conserve, how much? All right, I'm on the punt team, but I know I'm on the starting defense too, so I can't go all the way out because if I go all the way, I'm be gassed because you don't know. You're praying and hoping for a TV timeout. You don't know if you're going to get it or not. So I was always like, all right. And I remember one time it was against Philadelphia, third game of my career. I ran down on punt. And then they wound the clock, and I'm like, oh, I am tired. And it was like a couple plays in that series, I just didn't have nothing for you. Coach said, what is this? What's going on? I said, Coach, I was tired.
Yeah.
He said, well, tell me next time. I said, well, I don't want to come off the field.
This is one of those. I keep it to myself a little bit.
I mean, think about it. You go off the field, and they say, oh, man, what's wrong with you? Okay? I was like, Coach, I'm tired. And that was my my last day on punt team.
So, Emily, I'm not impugning your work ethic at all. You are a hardworking young woman, but I am pleasantly surprised that you are as bright-eyed and present as you are, having spent last night at SoFi Stadium with Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
I thought you might be a little rusty.
I was letting her get her voice back together.
I spent about 12 hours in the Taylor Swift world yesterday. I left my home at 1 p.m.
Okay.
I returned home at 1 a.m.
Okay.
So went to go pick up a friend who was staying at a hotel by the airport, and then went to our pregame. And our pregame consisted of watching Taylor Swift documentaries while making friendship bracelets and listening to more Taylor Swift music. And we had a bunch of food items that were like puns of Taylor Swift. It was amazing. It was a good group of 6 of us. Then we went to the stadium, and super easy in, super easy out, like especially since I've been to SoFi Stadium so many times. But if you have any chance to go and see this show, it is amazing. The visuals, the sound, everything is so good. They are filming it. They're filming the LA shows, and so they're going to make a documentary about it, and likely, apparently reported that it's going to be in theaters. So you know that I'm going to be signing up to go watch it.
I'm surprised you don't have your tickets already, that you haven't pre-ordered from
of course.
Ticketmaster or whatever it is.
Yeah, and then my one suggestion, if you are listening to this and you are going to a Taylor Swift show the rest of the week, bring earplugs. That is the one thing I can tell you, because it is loud enough with them in. Like, it was the loudest I've ever seen SoFi Stadium, because it's not only obviously her performance.
Were you not there for the Jacksonville Jaguars a couple years ago?
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, that was super loud, super energetic. But it's just the combination of the singing and then everyone around you also screaming at the top of their lungs for 3.5 hours. So that's what it is all about.
But you've been looking forward to this for months.
Yes.
And it lived up to the hype.
I got the tickets in November of last year, November 2023, and then I waited almost a whole year for it, and it lived up to the hype. It was everything that I wanted it to be. I was with my sisters. I was with my best friends. It was just the amazing, beautiful experience of being a girl and being a fan of something and being bigger than you are, and it's awesome. On the way in, so we were driving in a car, it was full, and you would see other people, because Taylor Swift does this thing where she has 13 on her hand. So if you're driving and you saw either a full car, you're hearing Taylor Swift and people have 13s on their hand, and as we were driving, we had our windows down, we were saying hi to other Taylor Swift fans on the way. It was very super wholesome, super fun. It's a great. It was a great way to spend a Saturday.
When are you going, Kirk?
I think I got to catch it on the next go around.
When maybe it's a little cheaper.
Yeah,
I was going to say.
I'm going to catch it on the next go around, but I think this is the longest concert right now at SoFi. She did.
Yeah.
She's doing
She's 6 days,
yeah,
so
6
she did
days.
3 already. She has Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week.
Bonkers.
Yeah.
6 nights at that place
well,
because
think
it's
about
not
it.
like you're doing, a small venue.
No.
It's SoFi Stadium.
And the only things that are not full are literally right behind the stage. So she
Right.
has all the way up, even behind the stage.
What
almost
end
a
of the
little bit.
stadium is the stage at?
Sorry?
What end of the stadium did they have the stage set up?
They had the stage opposite where the Rams Super Bowl banners
Okay.
are. So
Okay.
it's the other side of it,
Okay.
and it's
So
where the
forum
band
side.
is.
I call them the
forum side.
Yeah,
there's
the forum
side
side.
works.
the
Forum
forum
side.
side, and then there's the Hollywood Park side
Yeah.
for us.
Kirk-
That's good. That's I wanted to know what the acoustics were like. I haven't been to a concert there, only sporting events, so it'll be interesting to see what a concert is like, especially of that magnitude.
No, that's. I mean, it's 6 nights at SoFi Stadium. You don't even need to say anything else other than that.
And
It's insane.
get a parking pass because it will save your life.
Yeah,
It is
you
very
said you
close.
got out of there easily.
I got out of there in
But you're a
20
pro.
minutes.
You're a pro, though. You're a pro.
She
You've
is.
been to SoFi so
Yeah.
many times. You know how to get in and get out. It's
Yeah,
not
it's an easy way in and out, and I would suggest parking pass or something else. Have someone pick you up, but yeah, it was a night I'll never forget, to say the least.
I was watching that drill they were just doing there, Kirk, where
Yes.
the guys running back and forth. I don't want to do that.
No, that's not.
The guys running full speed, 50, 60 yards at a crack, and then running back and doing it again. I don't need that in my life.
It's
Wait,
two,
can I see it? I really want to see it really badly, though.
well, it's a 2-on-1 though. But you know what I mean? It's two guys. They're called they're hawks. That's what the term uses. It's
Yeah.
two hawks, and then on the opposite side, the offensive side, he's the gunner. So the gunner is the guy on the outside. The punter will punt the football, and it's the gunner's it's his job is to go down there and be the first person to make the tackle. But because we don't really account for the punter,
You got 2-on-1.
you get 2-on-1. So now his job is to how do I beat two guys and get to the football? And I can't run out of bounds.
Right.
Because that's illegal. So I have to go through these two guys and I have to create and find space. Now there are I've seen some of the best to do it. We were just talking to Jackie Slater, his son Matthew Slater, one of the best I've ever seen do it as well. There are certain guys that are just that gifted, that fast, and that slippery that they can get through those double teams on the outside.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about Matthew Stafford right now and talk about the season that he's coming up. We got a lot to talk about. That his name came up over and over and over again during the offseason, that they were trying to restructure, that they were trying to trade,
Right.
that they were trying to this, that, or the other thing, that there was constantly noise about whether or not he was going to be back with the team. Well, I can see him for him standing. He's here.
Yes.
He's going to be the quarterback of this team. Coming off a season where he was hurt frequently, had a couple concussion issues, had a spinal issue, missed the better part of the second half of the season. What are your expectations just coming in with a team that does not have the weapons that he's had previously, with a rebuilt offensive line, with a running back who's coming into a contract year? What do you think his expectations are coming into 2023?
I expect Matthew Stafford to be, what he was just a couple of years ago. To see that chemistry he had with Cooper Kupp. They had one of the greatest seasons from a quarterback-wide receiver duo in NFL history. Seeing all the numbers that Cooper Kupp just demolished, and we're talking about the likes of Jerry Rice and the amount of games where he had 100 yards or more or 8 catches or more. Who can forget the unbelievable drive in the Super Bowl 56 that they had together? It was so much that I can think about that I really believe that Matthew Stafford will be right there in line to do that again. He had a shortened off season. Remember last year at this time we were talking about an elbow injury where he was, possibly not going to
Wasn't throwing in camp.
Yeah, wasn't throwing in camp. He was injured last year, and he was injured early on. They had him on a play count and practice any other day. I really feel like he's healthy. He is finally healthy. I don't even know if he was healthy when he first got to the Rams. Remember, he had some things he was dealing with when the Rams traded for him. This is the first time I really feel like he is as healthy as he's ever been.
Can't wait to see what it looks like, because we had the first season with him, great. Second season, banged up, and now here in the third season, and we're going to it's brand new with the weapons that he has, the offensive line that he has, lots more to get to with him. We'll ask the same question, of course, to DeMarco Farr, scheduled to join us coming up next from a Rams training camp special at UCI on 710 ESPN.
Bam, bam, bam.
My favorite Taylor Swift song. I need to get one. I feel like I'm left out. Kirk's got one. Emily was at the show last night. Yeah. I'm going to have to go through and Emily, I'll take your 5 best recommendations. I'll listen to them and then I'll make a decision from there.
That's a good tease for tomorrow for Travis and Sliwa.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, you're going to the final show on Wednesday as well.
Yeah, I'm going to go to the final show because I was thinking about it during the show yesterday. I was like, this is exhausting. I feel like I ran a marathon just singing and dancing and being right there. One thing, SoFi was shaking. Like our section, because people were dancing, was bouncing up and down. So just one thing that was crazy. But yes, going on the Wednesday show. It's the last show of the American leg of this tour. So I'm really excited because she always does something crazy. She always brings out a guest or has a big reveal, maybe a new album. So I'm really excited for Wednesday. My outfit will be slightly less involved. So.
Okay, you can't just leave us hanging. How was this one yesterday?
The American leg.
I had to do a lot of glitter on my face. I had like hair. My hair was done in a specific way. But Wednesday, there's a music video in which she wears a sheet over her and it has glasses on. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut
eyes. Like a ghost?
Yeah, like a ghost.
Okay.
So I'm going to do that because it's much less involved. I can just roll up and roll out.
I'm excited for you. I know
really
you've been looking forward to it for a very, very long time. All right, Kirk, so looking out here, we got our defense on the field to our right. We got the offense on our field to our left right now. Mm-hmm. Matthew Stafford doing some work right now with some of the guys. And, ball's coming out of his hands. It looks like Matthew Stafford. And it's just there's only so much that you can do in this league without one of two things. The quarterback and somebody to protect the quarterback, right? You need to give him a little bit of time to do the work that he needs to do. We've seen Matthew Stafford, what it looks like when he has a little bit of time to do what it is he needs to do. They won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
We saw what it looked like when he did not last year. The offensive line got hurt early. It never really, I think, we go through the first 13 weeks of the season with 13 different starting offensive lineman combinations. Obviously, I'm knocking on wood right now. You don't want to say it can never be that bad again, but it had literally never been that bad before. It was the most turnover in the history of the NFL as far as those 5 offensive linemen goes. If it's just a little bit better, and never mind if it's a lot better or extremely better, but if it's just a little bit better, Matthew Stafford, I think, snaps back and looks like Matthew Stafford all over again.
Yeah, that's my belief. That belief is that he will get right back to the form that we once saw two seasons ago, honestly. I think really – my expectation right now for this Rams ball club is very similar to what I think people saw with the Seattle Seahawks last year. Very low expectations. A lot of people assume that the Seattle Seahawks will be tanking. No one even believed in their quarterback.
Yeah.
They said, hey, Geno Smith is our guy.
Come on. Who was he battling with last year? Remember?
Drew
Lock. That's what it was.
And we saw – they were a team very similar to the Rams, very youthful. They didn't have a ton of guys. They had a big injury to Jamal Adams early on, but you think about it, we couldn't really name any of their starters. We stole Bobby Wagner from them as well. So I look at the Seattle Seahawks last year as the blueprint for the Rams this year. I think that the quarterback position is better in Matthew Stafford over Geno Smith. I look at the way that the Rams have drafted last year and this year, that they have similar young pieces in place that will have to play at a high level. Who's going to be the Rams' Tariq Woolen, who was one of the top defensive rookies last year for the Seattle Seahawks? Look at the running backs in Seattle last year. They drafted a couple of guys. This year they drafted Charbonnet from UCLA. I think Cam Akers is better than those running backs. So I'm just looking at the way that Seattle built their football team last year and what was seen to be as a rebuild or reset like the Rams. And I'm saying the Rams are in a similar situation, but yet on paper, the Rams to me are better. And why can't they be what Seattle did? Why can't they reel off 4 or 5 wins in a row? Unlikely. I mean, I think they can win off 4 or 5 wins in a row and sneak into the playoffs.
Well, it's one of the great things about the NFL. And it's not true in the NBA. It occasionally happens in baseball, but not very often. A team that you do not expect to be good turns out to be very good.
Correct.
And a team that you expect to be quite good is terrible. It happens every single season. Unfortunately, last year the Rams were the team that everybody thought was going to be good. They weren't. They went 5-12, and it just, it never really got out from underneath it. But every single season there is a team that when you look back and say, you know what, we thought that team might win 6 or 7 games, and they win 9 or 10 or 11. And I think that's what the Rams are hoping to be, is that team that, okay, coming in, you look at it, I think Vegas has the over-under at 6.5. You look at the games that they're favored in coming into the season, there are not a lot of them along the way. It doesn't mean anything.
No.
That once they start to play, let's see what it looks like, and one or two guys that you need to step up. If they do, you're off to the races.
That's all you need. And look, you start to get a belief in yourself. You get one or two victories, and all of a sudden this thing starts rolling. You get excited. You get pumped up, and then it just carries over. That's the way I'm looking at it. I think Sean McVay is a better coach now, coming off of what he dealt with last year, than he was before last year.
How so?
Because I think he had so much success early on.
Nothing but
Success.
Yeah.
Think about it. If he, I was looking at this with Andy Reid. Sean McVay's first 6 years as head coach is probably better than any head coach we've ever had. No, is better than any head coach we've had in the league. Right? He's still the youngest head coach in the league, by the way. He's going on year 7.
He's coming in his 7th year. Yeah.
He's still the youngest coach in the league. That's number one. He's still the youngest coach to ever win a Super Bowl. That still happened. He had like the first to do this, first to that. All this stuff was coming so easy to him. And then you have one of those years, like last year, that it was like, yep, this is the NFL. It will humble you. And maybe Sean McVay needed to be humbled. Maybe he needed to take a look in the mirror and say, what do I need to do now after all this success? It was one of those years where you look back and say, you know what? I've got to do this. I got to do that.
It's not working. That's got to be one of the great challenges, right? I don't care what it is that you do. If you do, it literally doesn't matter. But if you do something and all it does is work, and then all of a sudden everything you've done your entire life stops working, it's like, now what? Now what do I do?
My God.
And that's, I think, where he found himself in that part. As promised, none other, number 75, DeMarco Farr coming. You're going to need to take the Panama hat off. We're not at the beach.
Wait a minute. Why am I in the middle?
What do you mean?
Why'd you guys put me in the middle?
This is where
it looks better on
where it is.
camera.
The southwest middle seat. Hold on.
By the way, if the three of us are ever in the same row on the Southwest,
I'm getting off.
We're moving around.
I'm getting
That's
off.
bad.
What's up, man?
How you doing, brother?
I'm good. I told
Good
you
to see
we
you.
set the over under at 280. How much you weigh?
Right about there.
I told you.
I was right.
My man. See, we're getting close. Absolutely.
How about you?
Good.
I haven't been on a scale in a minute. No.
I'm not going to let you put him on blast.
I'll
like
tell
that.
you where I started. I started at 336.
Oh.
Like mid-April. I know I'm not 336.
No way.
But I don't want to get on the scale because I don't want to see the bad number. You know what I mean?
That's the bad number.
That sends you down the rabbit hole.
The first one?
Yeah. The clothes fit. Things are falling off. That's all I care about.
It's training camp for everybody. Too,
Thank
by
you.
the way.
The clothes are the key, right? Okay,
Yeah.
so we're in the circle of trust here.
Yeah.
We're in a safe spot.
Right here in the rest of L.A.
We've all got this section of the closet like, I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
I should probably take, and then it's the, okay, I got to chill out area. That you got,
I
like,
got
if
some
I'm
suits.
down to these pants, this is I need to check myself.
I got some 2K suits that I paid too much for that I can't fit. I'm not going to throw them away. I'm going to get in them. Yeah.
I still have those.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I still have those.
Some
Those
Puff
are-
Daddy suits.
They're
Yeah.
in the back of the closet, and you still look at them, and you're like, I'm going to get there.
Absolutely.
I'm going to get you.
Yes. The suit guy got you too, huh?
Oh, yeah. he
Showing
got
up at the hotel?
Showing up at the hotel,
Yeah.
and it's like, all right.
Was it? I'll take one of those. What is it?
It's like $50,000 package, and you get like so many suits and shorts, and he'll outfit you forever.
outfit you, yeah. It was nice.
And they
It
show
looks
up.
good.
Yeah, it's really
Looks
good.
good.
It's just expensive, but just don't gain weight. Yeah.
I don't know how to do that.
Correct.
I don't have an answer to that particular problem. All right, we were just talking about this. This is a new group, right? There's a couple of very familiar faces. You got your Cups, you got your Donalds, you've got your Staffords, and a couple of other guys. Your Michael Hoyts that have been around a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of new guys here. How long is it taking you to kind of wrap your head around exactly what this team is?
I think we're there now. I mean, like you said, I think you're on the wrong side of the economics.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you're paying a bunch of money to like 4 guys. That's not where you want to be. So the rest of the group is going to be young. But this is not the end of the road. This is not all bad. You've got a pretty good head coach in Sean McVay who knows how to coach them up. Matthew Stafford is one of the elite quarterbacks in the league when he's right. So if you're going to pay somebody, you might as well pay that guy. And who doesn't want Aaron Donald on their football team? So, and Cooper Kupp, same way. But you're going to have to fill in with young people, and there's going to be mistakes of youth. You know this. There's going to be games
How
that
hard
get
is
away.
that to reconcile,
Yeah.
DeMarco? This understand. I know you just got here, but I also need you to know what the hell you're doing.
We've all raised kids before, right?
Yeah.
We get it. I mean, I done told you 8 times. The stove is hot. It's going to burn you. And then you get burned. Aha! And then you learn. So that's what's going to happen in football. It's going to go 2 ways. Either they come out of the gate hot and win 6 in a row and then slow down because it's the league.
Catches up to you, right.
Or you're going to lose some games you shouldn't lose and then get better late. I'd rather have that sort of football team that gets better late towards the end of the year and gets hot, and then however that season ends, you roll right into the next. So it's a young football team. It's just going to be a lot of ups and downs.
I've compared this Rams team right now currently to kind of how we looked at Seattle going into last season. A team that was possibly tanking, probably going to go get a quarterback in the draft. We were trying to figure out what quarterback that the Seattle Seahawks wanted last year. Geno Smith played great. They had a lot of young players. They ended up making the playoffs. I put that on the Rams as well. I think the Rams have that same capability of a lot of guys that quietly got a lot of reps last year, got thrown in the fire because they had to play, and now they're still young, but they played. They've been out there. They understand what's going to happen. I think that's what's the switch that Sean McVay needed to get those guys out there.
See, I think you're dead on, because I see Sean McVay as a Pete Carroll type. Now, maybe he doesn't hang in there until he's 90,
right?
Like Pete, but I mean, same thing. I mean, I told Matthew Stafford and Aaron Donald this: the curse of greatness is eventually your whole team's going to change over.
Correct.
And it's only going to be you here. That's what happens when you're good. So same thing with Sean McVay. You're going to have eras. Eras are going to end, and if you're a halfway decent coach, you're still going to be there, and you're going to have to start and raise another football team. So here we are. But, I'm glad they say the team is top-heavy, but they never talk about guys like Tyler Higbee.
Yeah.
They never talk about guys like Rob Havenstein, one of the better right tackles in the game. I mean, there are guys that have been here for a while that are still banging, that don't get the press that the other guys get, but yeah, this is not a total rebuild. It's just a bunch of young dudes trying to fill in around some pretty good established starters.
You think that gives Coach McVay a little bit of juice, a little bit of something, because we were talking. He shows up with his first season. Nobody really knew what was going to happen, right? It was unknown product, and they were really good. And really, they've been very good every year since, until last year. You had your first down season at 5-12. Didn't know if he was coming or going.
Yeah.
Made a decision pretty quickly that he was going to come back. Is there something about getting re-energized and getting just a different perspective on it, coming in not knowing, okay, it's the Super Bowl or it's a failure? This is a season that is very different than the other ones we've seen.
I thought this is what every coach wants. Look, if you can make this team into a winner, I mean, he's already a star, but this is how you cement yourself as a great football coach. But this is the challenge you look for. It's a young team that you have to mold into a winner. That's what you want. I mean, some guys I know, they want loaded football teams, a bunch of veterans, and, go win some hardware. But, I mean, this is what you want if you're a true football coach at heart. Let me take you from ground one and walk you up the mountain. At some point, I'm going to carry you. At some point, you're going to carry me. But eventually, we're going to get to the top. So that's what it's about. So we'll see what happens there. But this reminds me of the old AL, NL. Remember the old AL managers?
Sure.
Set your lineup and just sit with your arms folded?
Right, wait for the home run.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, but this is different. You're going to have to really manage and really coach your butt off to get these young guys ready to play.
Well, they got to get ready early on, too. And I'm looking at having 4 teams that made the playoffs last year in their first 5 games. We'll know about this Rams team right away, because going up against Seattle, it's like that's the perfect situation for the Rams. Week 1, we'll know who you are. Either you're competing or you're not, or we got some work we got to do. I'm not saying that Seattle's going to blow everybody out of the water. What I'm saying is that is a perfect matchup to realize who this team is going to be right out of the gate.
You guys believe in Geno?
That's what
I do. I do. I mean, I gave him props. He came in for Russ, and it was up there against the Rams, and he just refused to go away. And I'm like, you know what? It's not just he's not doing it on guts. He's actually playing his butt off.
Yeah. Right.
And then he became the starter and had the resurrection there. So I kind of believe in Geno, but still, if you give me a young roster and all things are equal, I'll take Matthew Stafford, a Matthew Stafford-led football team, over just about anybody in this conference. So I still think if you can fix your O-line, if you can find somebody find a partner for Aaron Donald in the middle or some edge rush, I still think you can compete in the NFC West right now with this young roster.
Let's go to the other side of the ball, talk about the defensive side. Obviously, Aaron Donald is still here. He's still Aaron Donald. He's still going to do all the things that he does. Jalen Ramsey's not here anymore. Leonard Floyd is not here anymore. Bobby Wagner is not here anymore. You got a lot of guys in the secondary that are brand new or very inexperienced. What's that side of the ball going?
You know what, man? I think your next star is coming out of the secondary. I really do. I mean, they're just young. Yep. They're energetic. They're well coached. Yes, having Aubrey Pleasant back in the fold. Oh, my God. First thing he says is, I want a ring. That's what I'm talking about, Coach. And he coaches his butt off. So I like Kobe Durant. I think he's going to be just fine. I think that might be your lead corner. There is no direct replacement for Jalen Ramsey. You'll never have a guy like that ever again. Right. But if you have a DK Metcalf or a number 1 receiver, I think you'd be okay with putting 14 on him. with a lot of Raheem Morris mixed in. But, having him at corner, a guy with experience, so he's not going to get the deer in headlights. But I think the biggest thing is having Jordan Fuller back, the safety.
Healthy.
He sees the field.
Yeah.
And then Rush East, a guy who came up, kind of got lost. He had his coming out party in Cincinnati.
Right.
We were going to talk about him nonstop. The only problem was Aaron Donald decided to hit people with helmets, and that's all we talked about. But that day, he submitted himself as a future guy, and here he is as the starter. So I think those two in the back end, plus Kobe Durant, and you can figure out around those guys. But I think your next star for the LA Rams is coming out of that secondary.
Yeah, I think I'll add another guy, too, number 53 in the middle, Ernest Jones. To me, what Bobby Wagner was able to do for him last year, and obviously – the Rams trust him enough that they allow Bobby Wagner, hey, look, it was great 1 year, but this is going to be Ernest Jones' team. This is going to be his defense. Aaron Donald is the enforcer no matter what, but everything has to go through 53. I'm looking for him to have a big monster year just because this defense needs it. They need the guy that they can go behind, and so far I've been seeing him do that.
I mean, look, man, you couldn't have a better mentor than Bobby Wagner. I mean, we even talked about it last training camp. There was a time when Ernest started to look like Bobby.
Yeah.
Started to dress like him, walk like him, talk like him. I mean, he was really emulating, and that's what you're supposed to do. I mean, that's what I would try to do. So, yeah, it's your gig now. You are the leader of this defense. You've got to get everybody lined up, make every play on the field. Who is the best – your favorite inside linebacker?
5'2", Ray Lewis.
Ray Lewis. I mean, playing currently right now.
Oh, currently right now?
Because there are some dudes I like that if you don't block them, like Fred Warner.
Fred Warner is
if you don't get a pad on him, he'll make every play.
Yes.
Every play. I love that. Some dudes you can leave unblocked, they'll never get there.
Right.
Maybe I hope that he turns into one of those guys that you have to account for him. If not, if you don't get a pad on him, he will definitely make every single play.
He's going to the Hall of Fame. He might be the best player at the history of the league at his position in Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
He's still playing at an incredibly high level, but he's also been in the league for a while now. I mean, how much longer is he going to be Aaron Donald? When you hear that name and it means a very specific thing, he's going to mess things up for you that day.
Okay, so when I was a rookie, it wasn't too far from here. When I stepped onto the field and there was the offensive line group, the guys you're getting ready to butt heads with, and then there was Jackie Slater, who was by himself, who had an aura. It was just like, he's different than everyone else. You're afraid of him. They treat him different. That's what I see with Aaron Donald. He goes over there, he goes about his business, and you'll see the other group of guys kind of just stand there and watch him. Just watch him go about. When he walks through the group, they part like the Red Sea. So he is that guy and that man. So, look, he's looking for a partner. He is really looking for a dance partner. And
how much better is he when he has somebody that you have to pay attention to, that it's not just him where you can double and treat? Even when you have other good players, he's still getting double.
It's kind of frustrating for other guys. Have you seen the movie? He's like that guy. Like, if you miss a beat, he may throw a cymbal at your head. So it's like, if you get caught, get blocked, he'll look at you like, you didn't see that coming? Like, no, Aaron, I'm not you. I didn't see that. I have to work at it. So, but he's looking for a guy that feels the game like he feels, that can go off script when need be and not violate the defense. So, hopefully one of those. Maybe it's Ernest. Is it Ernest Brown?
Yeah, Ernest Brown.
Ernest Brown is a guy that could take over for Ashawn Robinson, be that 5 technique. So he's looking for a dance partner right now.
DeMarco, I felt like last year and in years past, the Rams had to be perfect in certain areas. Where I look at this year, I really feel like Sean McVay can cut it loose.
Yeah,
just let it go. I can't be perfect. This is my year to just let it fly. I got to see what sticks. I got to see what works. It was like last year we knew, hey, a Cooper Kupp on third down. It was just the Rams always knew what they had to do to win. This year, I feel like I'm going to get more out of Sean McVay because he's trying to figure out who is this group? Who is going to be my guys outside of your pillars?
Yeah, you can't be wrong because you don't know. I mean, you've seen NBA guys on 10-day contracts, right? Man, if you give me a 10-day, I'm pulling up from half court. Why not? What do I got to lose? Just cut it loose and have some fun. Absolutely, right. I'm going home anyway. Might as well have some fun. But the guys that you said you have to be perfect.
Yeah.
And it's funny, we are looking right at the specialists. And that is like the newest group.
Yep.
There's no veterans.
Yeah.
So that's a group that has to be perfect.
Did I read this right? That the guy, their new punter, didn't hold in college, and they're teaching him how to hold on the job?
Yeah.
That could be interesting.
He told me that in OTAs, and I just stared at him.
DeMarco, I read that this morning. I'm like, no, I can't be right. Let me read that again. No, that's right.
He told me that with a straight face. And I'm like, you must be one hell of a punter, man. You got one job? Really? That's you? You that guy? But he's big. He's tall. I mean, look. So that group, I mean, look, last year I think that was one of the biggest disappointments was special teams. Mm-hmm. You know, when you have to fight tooth and nail to stay in games on the road and that lets you down, I mean, that you can't have that, especially when you're struggling.
What are some of the guys that they got in the draft? Obviously, got Steve Avila, who was their number 1 pick overall. Their second-round pick, their first pick. I always get that wrong. Their first pick. They've got, you've got Puka Nacua, who's expected to make some big plays.
Robert Woods Jr.
That's what I've heard. That's said quite a bit. If you had to say, okay, I'm putting my chips on this guy to have an impact in his first year in the league, who is it?
Okay, I got corrected. He said his name is Avila. Avila.
Okay.
Yeah. I would put it on him because I was approached 3 times unsolicited. They're saying it's all about the big dude. They're trying to get the big dude ready to play, so they like him.
Okay.
Also gives you some insight into what type of offense they're going to run.
Yes, indeed.
With a guard that size. Have you seen him up close?
Not yet.
The front of his face looks like a hammer. That dude is not meant for backing up. He is meant for coming off the rock. Yeah, and pounding you. So I'm thinking this is your answer to San Francisco. And I heard this. This is crazy. This is going into a game versus a division rival in San Francisco. Well, this might be a bad matchup for us up front.
Okay.
Wait a minute. This is in your division. This can't be a bad matchup.
Right.
You know what's coming. You know what they bring. You know what you have to stop to win against San Fran or Seattle. So I think this is your answer for that defense, that defensive line they're throwing at you in San Francisco. So I would say him. And Zero, I always forget his name.
Yeah.
Byron Young looks great getting off the bus, don't he?
Looks good.
I mean, my goodness.
I said the same thing. Wait, who is Zero? I got to go look at it. Same thing. I got to look at the sheet. Who is number 0?
Bro, you're wearing 0 in the league.
Oh, you got to do something.
You better be a baller
gotta be a
or you're going to get
problem.
laughed out. Yeah. You better be a baller. But I'll tell you this. I've never seen a guy being coached harder than him. Right. And not just by his position coach. Raheem Morris seems to have taken like it's his project. Like, we're going to make this guy into the pass rusher we need.
So what sort of team is this going to be? We've seen it before, right? So when Sean McVay first got here back in 2017, it was, holy smoke, they're going to score 40 points a game. Then the next year, he broke the NFL. No one can stop this. And then we've seen some more defensive-oriented teams. Last year, if they're going to win, it's because they were going to stop people on that side of the ball. What's this team going to be? Is this going to be an offensive-first team or a defensive-first team?
Well, okay, so there's 2 different philosophies. And I had some great conversations with some old offensive coordinators. And there was a guy that's like McVay, who's always throwing for the box. He wants to score 35 points a game. Then he had to adjust because his team changed. So he went to more of a possession-type deal.
Gotcha.
My goal is to gain as many yards as possible and keep the ball as long as possible and win the game late. So I could see this team, until the defense comes around or until you figure out your identity, I could see Sean McVay moving the ball around, possessing the football, grinding games out, taking it into the fourth quarter, and trying to win it there until this team matures.
Does that mean more running game?
It comes back to the running game. And it's crazy what they're doing to running backs, but I think, to me, if Cam Akers is healthy for 16 weeks, I think this team is, what did they say, 6 wins? I would say take the over. If he stays healthy for every game and takes the rock 20 times per game, take the over. If you can run the football.
I was just thinking about the running back position and saying, what about Kyron Williams? We saw it last year in spurts and bits and pieces, but he was injured.
Yeah.
This year, I feel like you have to have 2 guys. I feel like these 2 guys complement each other. This will be the Rams' running game that they need.
You know, out of the backfield, man, he is a problem.
Yes.
I mean, he is a problem in the passing game. And I think it's funny how those guys just kind of fall into those roles, but he has kind of embraced it.
Right.
You know, like, this is what I do. This is how I'm going to make my money, and I'm going to make people pay. Like, he will call out the mismatch. Mm-hmm. That's a young dude calling out a mismatch. Like, oh, I got this dude.
Yeah.
Linebacker on me, easy.
Yeah.
Safety on me, I got him. You know what I'm saying? So he is kind of embracing that role. So if he can stay healthy, there you go. Yeah.
The question.
He is a Super Bowl champion. Of course, he is on the sidelines for each and every Rams game. DeMarco Farr. DeMarco, always a pleasure, my friend.
Skinny man. Yes, sir. I love it.
It's like standing next to you guys. You need to make sure that happens a little bit more often. All right, Stetson Bennett is scheduled to join us in the 6 o'clock hour. Voice of the Rams, J.B. Long, is also going to come by. And I want to talk about some of those guys that we just got, Kirk, the new guys, the rookies, the guys that are coming in with some big expectations. That's coming up next from Rams training camp here at UCI on 710 ESPN. I just got my first, I wouldn't say up close look because I'm, 50, 60 yards away from the actual action taking place. But my first turn my head and track Steve Avila.
Yes.
Yeah, DeMarco was not kidding. That is a big man.
He's a big dude.
A big dude at guard in particular, right? You see those big guys out at the ends a lot, but usually those guys on the inside of the line, not quite that big, but that is a big dude. He was their first selection in the second round of the draft. He was a guy, obviously, that they have big expectations to play and play right away. Byron Young was their first of 2 third-round picks out of Tennessee, and then you got Kobe Turner, who was their other third-round pick out of Wake Forest. 14 draft picks in total. Their 4th-round pick, Stetson Bennett, who's going to join us coming up in the 6 o'clock hour. But this is a very different way that the Rams went about it in the draft this year, as opposed to the F them picks philosophy that Les Snead made so famous. This was much more of a, hey, let's figure out where we can start to find some talent, especially in the later rounds of the draft.
Well, I think that they've looked at other teams around the league, and you're starting to say, okay, we had a different model before because we had extremely good players, who played well. And I think I've heard Les say this before. I think Sean McVay said this before. You honestly don't know what you're going to get in these first-round picks. So many people are like, "Oh my God, first-round picks!" and people would covet these first-round picks. And the Rams said, "But if we gave up a first-round pick to get a proven and known commodity, why wouldn't we do that?" Like, we know what we're going to get.
First-round picks for Jalen Ramsey, no-brainer. You
knew what you're going to get.
For Von Miller, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, you get a first-round pick, and you're only contractually obligated to them for 4 years. They get a 5th-year option. And then, at some point, you got to pay the piper. You got to pay the big balloon payment. So the Rams were like, you know what? We'd rather go out and pay the balloon payment before a proven guy right now who we know. And they did that. They weren't scared to go get Brandon Cooks. They weren't scared to get Marcus Peters. They weren't scared to go out and get Aqib Talib. They weren't scared to go out and get Dexter Dante Fowler.
Yeah.
They weren't Sammy Watt. Think about the names in which have been on this football team. And the Rams they have competed at a high level. They've made Super Bowls. And then finally, this was the year. I saw the New Orleans Saints do this for so many years with Drew Brees. They kept doing what? Kicking the can down the street. You're going to have to pay the piper at one point. You're going to have to do it. Finally, the Rams realize that this is going to be the year. But we have to do this. We have to bring in 14 draft picks. But, again, around the league, if four of those draft picks hit, this is a successful draft. And then the other guys don't have to hit. They just have to be good depth guys and give you some competition on this team.
That's it. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but the way that I was always explained that you want somebody in the front end of the first round to be a starter and maybe be an all-pro.
Correct.
Towards the second end of the first round, I'm going to need you to be a starter. In the second round, I'm going to need you to either be a starter or a very high-level backup. And then after that, if we can find starters, great, but we're looking for depth guys. We're looking for some things that can happen there.
Puka
Nacua.
Nice
by the way,
play.
that 17 on his back reminds me of Robert Woods, right? Going way back before Robert Woods changed his number. But if you can just find guys that can allow you to stay in games while your number one guys are getting healthy, and we saw it last year on the offensive line. Guys just started going down. Eventually, you're not even on second stringers anymore. In a lot of cases, you weren't even on third string guys anymore. You're on fourth guys, free agents, guys that hadn't played football in a year, that you were down into that part of your roster. That's just not going to work. And if you can have some depth so those second and maybe a handful of third round guys or third level guys can survive for a week or two, that's the sauce.
Yeah. That's honestly what you hope. Like the team that's going to walk out there in week one for the Rams, Travis, you kind of get excited about because you feel like this is going to be the team that they can continue to build on. We know the Rams still aren't scared to, if they're in it, to go out and make a move.
No.
They will go out and make a move if needed. So I look at it like this. You are going to have some guys who are going to come out and surprise you this year. They're going to say, like, wow, we didn't expect this from this player. Oh, man, this player is giving us a lot more. I think that this is the season that we see a lot of these young players. DeMarco just said it. I really believe it. A lot of these young players are going to have, I think, exceptional years because they have to be.
Yeah.
Like, they have to play now. It's not like, oh, well, we'll see what we got in 2 or 3 years. Like, no, you are going to play right now. So we just talked about a play by Puka Nacua. He's fighting for that third wide receiver spot. no offense to Tutu Atwell, but we've seen Tutu for a couple of years, and it never truly popped. And so you're not in a wait stage right now. We need it to happen right now, right away. And that's what I'm seeing right now with a lot of these guys.
Who's the best bet when you look at the Rams draft picks? Is it Avila? Is it Young? Is it Turner? The guys that were picked towards the top, or could it be somebody a little bit further down? Puka Nacua, Tre'Vius Hodges Tomlinson, some guys that lower in the draft. We're talking about a 5th-round pick, a 6th-round pick, but like you said, Kirk, just given opportunities, there's going to be guys that are going to get reps. It's not like you're behind a bunch of guys along the way.
And the minute we said something bad about Tutu Atwell, he just catches a bomb for a touchdown. And what a throw by Matthew Stafford, who definitely comes down and greets Tutu Atwell. That was a dime from Matthew Stafford, but Tutu hauled it in. So, look, he's still got his name in the hat for who's going to be this 3rd wide receiver. Look, it's going to be Cooper Kupp 1. We know Van Jefferson's number 2. And I think it's going to be 3rd wide receiver by committee. And so when I look at the rookies of who can be that first rookie upcoming, I mean, Avila is obviously the safe bet because he plays a position that very rarely will we say, oh, he's not playing well.
He's getting killed.
It's not a fantasy position where you can know his production. Now, for the people who love the PFF, you can always go look at, he was graded out at this. I'm like, no, I could care less. But anyway, but to me, it will be, it'll be something that we look at halfway through the season. We probably won't know early on. We just know how difficult it is to stay healthy in the National Football League for the entire season. And we all know halfway through the year, and then all of a sudden you're in December and you got young guys playing a whole lot of football. I think Jordan Fuller was a guy that we saw early on that he was a 6th-round pick. We didn't know, and he just started playing, and you saw what he was able to do, and he leapfrogged some of the guys who were ahead of him. That's why I think that you kind of got to wait. But if there's anyone that I'm going to put right now, I feel like Puka Nacua is just a name that we continue to keep hearing, a name that we will continue to see going out there. He's going to be in the mix for, I think, that 3rd receiver spot. And if he keeps playing the way that he is, he will be out there a lot.
Obviously, if they're going to go where they want to go, you're going to have a healthy Cooper Kupp. He had a little bit of a hamstring thing early. Everybody seems to be that he's going to be fine. He's just going to rest it. We'll get it back to go. I just saw him go out there and dap up Tutu there after the long catch. He's in shorts and a T-shirt today. Right. Is there anything about, early in the camp you get a little bump and bruise like that makes you kind of go, or is this is football, man? You're going to have those things and it'll heal and he'll be fine.
He's one of those guys. I don't need him to go out there in the preseason. Right? I need him healthy week 1. Now, I mentioned we talked earlier about the pillars. All right, we talked about the foundational pieces of the Rams. That is a foundational piece. So you need that piece for sure because the way that he goes, the guys behind him will go.
Yeah,
we're talking about these young wide receivers, the young defensive backs, or young defensive linemen. They all need Aaron Donald out there week 1. They need Cooper Kupp out there week 1 as well.
Little Stetson Bennett action right there. He's scheduled to join us in the 6 o'clock hour.
That's what he can do.
He just did a little step up, little pull up short, little flip it over the defensive line right there. It's just we have not seen a lot of that at quarterback on this team. Jared Goff is a pocket passer, Matthew Stafford a pocket passer. We haven't seen a lot of guys get out and create things with their feet.
He can make plays off schedule. He doesn't. Sometimes you run the play that's called in the huddle. But Stetson Bennett has the ability to improvise, can make the throws off platform. And we saw it last year with John Walford, Bryce Perkins, and especially with Baker Mayfield toward the end. These are going to be some guys that can do things a little bit differently. They played out of a different playbook than Matthew Stafford did last year.
All right, the voice of the Rams, J.B. Long, is scheduled to join us. That is coming up next. We are live here from Rams training camp at UCI on 710 ESPN. that call. That is, of course, the voice of the Rams, J.B. Long, who's joining us right now as Rams practice getting close to wrapping up here on just a little bit. J.B., good to see you again. It's football season. I always like that first time I get to see you in the summer.
Trev, I've been here. I don't know about you. Everyone kept saying, Travis Rogers, he's got the morning show now. Yes. He can't do 4 to 7. And then I see Travis. He says, no, I've been on vacation.
I did have a nice vacation, JB. Thank you for asking. It was
I'm plugged in, recharged for a new season.
It was pretty good. So you excited for this?
I am. I said it yesterday, and it's been a pretty consistent feeling. Excited and rejuvenated in a different way. And look, expectations are awesome. Living up to them is even better.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But there is something lost when you're expected to win. You just can't cherish it the same way when you do achieve and when you do succeed. And there is an world that exists this fall where every Rams win won't be celebrated.
Right.
I'm not saying that they're going to be few and far between. I'm just saying the disposition and those who have experienced an NFL win sets the table for if you beat Seattle, you're going to be flying home on your own adrenaline.
I feel like, JB, you mentioned it there, that so much success early on has given people sort of like a false sense of this is just how it's going to be. And last year you realized just how difficult it is in the National Football, not only just a repeat, but just to win football games.
Yeah, that's right. The Rams in the Sean McVay era are the exception, not the rule. And I think we've all been a little bit spoiled or had our paradigm shifted, the goalpost moved by the Tom Brady Patriots and now the Patrick Mahomes Chiefs, right? Like, because you've had maybe not like 90s era dynasties, but I think in the current salary cap, the current draft environment, as close as you can get to sustained success from some of those franchises. And the Rams have been in that company up to last year. So we all know that, and we know that they have to reinvent themselves in lots of different ways. But, hey, you go around, you get the coaches together for those spring meetings, and you ask the other 31 guys, raise your hand if you would like to start with Stafford, Kupp, Donald, and figure it out from there.
Yeah.
And it's not unanimous. There's plenty of coaches that would keep their current job, but you would have some hands raised that would take Sean McVay's hand and play it.
JB Long, the voice of the Rams, joining us here at training camp at UCI. Stick with Coach McVay for a second, and you obviously get to spend some time with him and around him. And last year, it seemed like he had the weight of the world on his shoulders. And we know everything that was going on and whether he's coming or going. Obviously, he decided to come back, decided pretty quickly. Do you get a sense of, I don't know if rejuvenation's the right word, or a new renewed enthusiasm or whatever? Because this is a very different season than the ones we've had, which is either go win the Super Bowl or defend your Super Bowl championship.
Yeah, I've heard some people describe it as like the next chapter in Sean's coaching career. I prefer to say it's the next book. Because I think there were multiple chapters, in that run to the Super Bowl, ultimately in the World Championship. But longevity is a privilege in his line of work, and it's not common.
No.
There are very few exceptions, but like for him to see a second year was impressive, a third and beyond to be, going into 7. He just doesn't have many peers outside of the Tomlins and the Belichicks who can be in that company. I think he's now the second longest tenured NFC coach behind Pete Carroll.
Wow. Yeah.
And still the youngest in the NFL. So all that to say, look, we know he's got a long, long runway.
Right.
But this feels like the start of something new. And I think he knows, and his lens is focused in such a way that he doesn't come back this season to have the same conversations and the same reports surfacing in December, January. He, for the first time to me, has mentioned having a 3-year and a 5-year plan. Young, 30-year-old Sean McVay, he didn't have a 3-hour plan. Right, he was here and now, and we rode that drive, that fuel collectively for many, many years. But I think there's a version of him that's more measured, that has a longer lens, that's equally effective.
I'm looking at Aaron Donald this season and trying to figure out. I mean, I know he's self-motivated, but I feel like this is probably one of his tallest tasks so far in the NFL, having to lead an entire group on his shoulders.
Sean said something on the Pivot podcast that I listened to, overnight that I hadn't heard him say yet, and it was basically our leaders, our pillar guys, have to be careful not to take on too much, right? Because everyone's looking to you to model the way. That's kind of the rallying cry. It's one thing to do it the right way, and it's something completely different to try and do it all.
Correct.
And you can't do it all in this game. You can't, especially from the defensive tackle position. And so I think the best case for the Rams is not to have Aaron Donald play 90% of defensive reps this year.
Yeah.
Not because he can't. We've
Right.
seen him do it. I just think the best thing for Aaron and for the Rams is if he doesn't have to. And I don't know whether he will or not. I know he's capable. I know he wants to. But can he trust those around him, and can those around him earn that trust to such an extent that he doesn't have to?
JB Long, the voice of the Rams, joining us. Obviously, Philly's the defending conference champion. You got a team in San Francisco that looked really good last year until they lost Brock Purdy along the way. After that, the NFC looks very different than it has over the last few years. Brett Favre. Aaron Rodgers is in New York with the Jets right now. They're going through whatever it is they're going through with a new quarterback. Seems like there's a bunch of teams in transition that typically have not been like the Rams. Is it as open as it feels? Is it Philly and maybe San Francisco, and then we'll race to the finish line and see what happens after that?
You know, I think Dallas is going to be pretty
Dallas
good.
too?
I do. I agree.
This is the first year that I've been covering the NFL that I feel like I have to remind myself and others, like, you know, these last 2 years, one decision in the playoffs flips the other way. The case this year for a number of reasons. You're going to have the youngest roster you've ever had. For the first 5 weeks, I think you're playing legitimate Super Bowl contenders. You can play really well and come away 1-4.
Yeah.
But because of what you said, Travis, I think there are wins to be had. I think this roster will stack up ultimately favorably against its NFC peers if you can get through enough of this season with health, with belief, with success, that some of these rookies settle into roles. These moments don't become too big. Because if it goes the other way, you're going to start to, you know, there's other dynamics at play. Like, you have to have enough success to put the foot to the floor. But I can't say that the Rams are going to rattle off to a 7-1 start like we've seen them do previously.
You know, I love that last year the problem was the offensive line because of the injuries, the shuffling around. And now we come out here, we've been talking about seeing Steve Avila come back. And then you look at Logan Bruss, who really, this is his rookie year because he didn't play last year. I'm looking at an entirely new offensive line group, but yet they have experience and they have a lot more guys that they can trust more so than they had last year because of so many moving parts.
If they can maintain this current group with health,
correct,
I think they will have to put a potential starter through waivers at the end of this summer, at the end of this camp, which is, you know, the silver lining that we were all hoping for when things got really bad last year, right? Is like you've got guys playing out of position earlier than they were supposed to, but based on these reps, we now know that Tremaine Ankrum can do it. Like, he's taking that right guard spot, and he hasn't let anyone else in there. Avila comes in layered in. You know, they're kicking Bruss out to right tackle, filling in for Rob Havenstein, who's getting a veteran off day today. Like, they have some optionality there, and they have bodies that look like NFL starters. Right. And so they start with more than, you know, the 8 to 10 that you need to begin a season. But I think if last year taught us anything, it's not,
oh boy.
It's not what you have at the beginning. It's what you have in November, December, January.
What sort of team is this going to be, just kind of from a spectator standpoint? That we've seen Sean McVay teams where first 1 to 40 wins. We've seen it where he broke the NFL. Nobody can stop him. He's going to score 50 points a night. We've seen them be more defensive-oriented teams where, you know, like last year, if they were going to win, it was probably because they were going to hold somebody down rather than go score a bunch of points. What about this year's version?
I think they have to be ready and willing to play both games. Like, you can go up to Seattle and say, hey, we're capable of scoring 40. We might need to win, but it may not prove to be that type of game based on the way that Seattle has constructed things. Then you might have to turn around and go to Cincinnati and say, well, we might need to get to 35-40 to win, except for, man, that defensive coordinator is good. Man, their defensive personnel is good. And they're probably one of the least appreciated defensive franchises in the National Football League. So all that to say, it's one of the great unknowns. I think it's a perfectly appropriate question. I can't pretend to have that answer. But I will say, because I think we've all been a little scarred from what transpired last year, let's not undersell number 9 and Red's ability to go out there and put you in any game. Like if you watch some of the things that are happening here, listen to some of the things that are going on behind the scenes, he moves the needle. He elevates those around him, and I guarantee you there's not an opponent on the schedule that, so long as Matthew Stafford is healthy, is going to say, hey, this is a game that we can just take care of business.
One thing that I'm looking at, too, right now, all of these guys out here, we never talk about the coaching staff.
Yep.
Like, this is maybe a coaching staff that Sean has built, but has a little bit of stay power. Now, it could change. Raheem Morris can be up for a job and he could be gone. But with so much transition with the coaching staff throughout the years, maybe sometimes that message gets lost because you have different guys telling different messages. I don't have that this year. We had a new running backs coach, and then last year, and then, you had the situation going on with Cam Akers, and I'm like, oh, my God, like, I feel like there's just a calmness in the way that I see more teaching this year than maybe in years past.
I think that's an astute observation. And there is a bit of paradox to it because there are 10 new coaches and some others who are coming back and in different roles, and yet there's continuity, right? So you've got the churn, but not at the coordinator level. So, like, LaFleur's new, but, like, we know his last name. He knows the system. It's ultimately McVay's offense. Raheem Morris should be a coach in the National Football League, a head coach this year. You're fortunate to get him back, and so a lot of the defensive personnel gets to play the same system. Now, they got to play it without Von Miller, without Jalen Ramsey, without Bobby Wagner. But you're right to point out you can teach within the confines of familiarity, and that's a rare thing to find in the because when you change over 10+ coaches, it's usually because the guy at the top got fired. And the coordinators change. So.
JB Long, the voice of the Rams. You hear him each and every Sunday, Monday, Thursday. We got one coming up on Saturday. 6 days from now, we got Saturdays coming up. Always a pleasure, JB. Look forward to talking with you again.
It is great to be back with you both for another season, for real.
Cannot wait.
Saturday, better place to have training camp, too.
Saturday. It's football season. It's all good.
Feels good.
It's all good. All right, Stetson Bennett still scheduled to join us coming up in the final hour of our Rams training camp special right here on 710 ESPN.
producer Emily, fresh off that T-Swizzle concert last night at SoFi, and Kirk Morrison, who told us yesterday this is his favorite Taylor Swift song. Here he is, Travis Rogers.
A nice long touchdown pass, Stetson Bennett to Lance McCutcheon there just a couple of minutes ago, right in our backyard here, Kirk. We
last year's preseason MVP, Lance McCutcheon.
I was going to say, he had quite a breakout last year. I was reading something this morning saying the Rams kind of had to keep him because they would have gotten claimed had they tried to taxi squad him at the end of the season. Nice catch right there. And number 17 coming our way, Puka Nacua, rookie out of BYU that they went out and got. And ball seems to be finding his way quite a bit, especially for Matthew Stafford working with the number ones here with Nacua. Could he be at that list of just one of those guys that all of a sudden, 4 or 5 weeks in the season, say, he's having a hell of a season, Puka Nacua?
Yeah, he's going to have opportunities to have some big-time catches because this offense is going to go through Cam Akers in the run game. And then in the passing game, it starts with Cooper Kupp. Then I think it moves over to a little bit of between Van Jefferson, Tyler Higbee. But you're going to have some opportunities in this offense. And when you look at the box score at the end of the day, that third receiver is going to have about 4 or 5 catches on some crucial downs that will let everybody know that this is the player that the Rams need. So it's going to be a combination of Nacua. Ben Skoranek has been in there as well, but he's been primarily as a blocker a little bit, but he made some big catches down the stretch when needed. And then you throw in Tutu Atwell, who has big play ability, right, that home run ability. That's what the Rams also are missing, too. They miss a home run guy. They've always had a home run player. Remember Deshaun Jackson, the year that the Super Bowl year, he was the home run threat. Now it started to go away when Van Jefferson sort of emerged more in his second year in the league. But they've have an opportunity to get different guys play different roles.
It's never seemed like it's happened for Tutu Atwell. There's been injuries. There's been the inability to stay on the field. There's been his inability to get the football thrown his way. Like you said, we've seen him hit some big ones. We've seen him rip off some incredibly big chunk plays, 50, 60 yards here and there. But there just haven't been very many of them. And to your point, home run hitters are great, but you can't hit 5 home runs a season if you're a major leaguer. If you're going to be a home run hitter, you're going to have to hit 30 or so if you're going to hit the way that you do. He just hasn't been able to get on the field nearly enough. Could this be the year, or is he just not that type of guy?
I think that he can this year because the opportunities are going to be there for him. Look, last year was still Van Jefferson. It was still Cooper Kupp, and it was still so much of – I think Matthew Stafford's chemistry with the other receivers was just there. He didn't have the chemistry with Cooper Kupp. I mean, he didn't have the chemistry with Tutu Atwell. I think now will be the chemistry that he's developed. He couldn't develop it last year, remember? He couldn't really throw last offseason. So this is an offseason where I think it's been very important for Matthew Stafford that he's been able to understand where all of these guys, where they want the football, how to throw. Tutu Atwell is not the biggest guy, so you have to know where his catch radius is. Where can I put the ball at? Do I got to get out there early for him so he can go out there and get it? Or is he a big body guy where I can let him get ready and I can put it right on him?
You just mentioned it there. DeMarco mentioned it. JB mentioned it. I think we just kind of go past it so quickly. The fact that he didn't get to work with a bunch of guys last season. So, sure, he and Cooper Kupp, they're going to pick up right where they left off, right? That not a big deal. He's able to come in, and they know each other. They spend a lot of time together. Van Jefferson, same sort of situation. Right. A guy like Odell Beckham, who'd been in the league for a long time, he's going to pick it up really quickly, and they're going to have it. But when you got some new guys and your quarterback isn't able to work with them, it's going to make a difference. You just understanding how those things go, and this season, having him out there again, being able to throw the ball to those guys, it has to make a positive impact.
Yeah, it just the operation, right? He's the kind of guy that there's a certain operation with Matthew Stafford that everyone knows when he's going, you follow right behind him. When he's out there, hey, this is what it is. There's an expectation with guys like that. I think Matthew Stafford's one of them. You go in with Aaron Rodgers. Think about all of the older quarterbacks in the league, and what do you hear from the younger players that come in? They always say, his attention to detail, knowing where to go. There's an ability that if I just don't remember, that last little reminder, that's what Matthew Stafford does. You get that huddle, hey, the X, Y, Z slant, Z-mo to, F corner. Hey, I'm coming at you hot. That little last reminder is something that, for people who haven't been in an NFL huddle, that last little reminder gets me to know that my quarterback is thinking about me and that ball may be coming at me right away.
So another name that's come up quite a bit today, we haven't spent a ton of time talking about him, and it was just a bizarre season last year for Cam Akers.
Right.
That he was going to be the guy coming into the season. He was designated as, okay, he's fully healthy. He's ready to go again. This is the guy that we're going to have. Was pretty good towards the end of the year before when he finally came back, pretty good in the playoffs, and then did not play well, then didn't play, then got sent home. They were unable to trade him. They were unable to figure something out. Brought him back, which I think caught everybody by surprise to some degree. Yeah. He was pretty darn good after that. Pretty I mean, he ripped off a couple of 100-yard games toward the end of the season and looked like the guy that I think we were all hoping he was going to be, but it took a really long time to get there. We're coming into a season this year where it's a contract year for him. It's an opportunity for him to go make some money in this league. We'll talk about the running backs getting paid in a second. Totally put that aside over there. But what are the expectations for him? Because coming into last season, like, okay, this is going to be a great year, and it was just the strangest year I can remember.
Yeah, it's always tough when you win a Super Bowl, right, the previous year. Everybody's already got to the mountaintop now. Now it's about, okay, what about me? I'm ready to get mine. Mm-hmm. And you're looking around a team that you see a lot of those older players get rewarded already, and you're there with your hand out. You saw the offensive lineman who got rewarded. You know what Jalen Ramsey's making. You saw what Aaron Donald's got going on. They rewarded Cooper Kupp with a big contract. Yep. Matthew Stafford signed a new one. I'm Cam Akers saying, hey, look, I want a bigger role. I want a bigger paycheck. But he did come off of a season that he was hurt. He was on injured reserve throughout the season for the torn Achilles. Now, he came back and played well that playoff run. But when you win a Super Bowl, a lot of guys start forgetting about we and think about me. And I'm not saying this is what happened, but generally that's what takes place. At some point, it just finally clicked. He realized just what it is. The Rams did have a new running backs coach last year, Will Fiery, who's actually back in the college ranks. So they brought from the college ranks. He goes back to the college ranks. That could have messed up the chemistry as well. But I look at it right now, currently as it sits, Cam Akers is in a position where the Rams have paid that position well. They paid a Todd
Gurley.
You know, they paid C.J. Anderson to come over. They've invested in that position. I don't know how much they'll invest with Cam Akers, but I really feel like he realizes he's got to go out, and he's not just playing for the Rams. He's playing for 31 other teams as well in a market that is totally arrow going down.
It was the topic of the week 2 weeks ago, right?
It's a topic ongoing. This is all season long.
You're right about that. Yeah. You're right about that. But this was not that long ago the premium position in the NFL that wasn't quarterback. Right, this was your Emmitt Smiths and your Walter Paytons and your guys that just were the stars of this league along with the quarterbacks, and they got paid accordingly, and they were incredibly important to the success of the team. The league obviously has become far more passing-oriented. It's far easier to move the ball with passing with the rules changes and everything that there's been than it was previously. The shelf life on running backs, by the time they're able to get paid, they've put a lot of miles, taken a lot of hits, and I get it as an investment. I got the best. Why am I going to pay you for something that's coming up that's probably not going to be great? But for the running backs themselves, it's such a bad draw because by the time they come available to get paid, the market for them is virtually nothing. It's a really strange spot to be in the NFL.
Yeah, this is kind of that cycle in the National Football League where you realize the quarterback is by far the most important position.
Yep.
But we've also seen this new generation of quarterback that has now become an extension of a running game. That before it was like the quarterback was just, the passer, and you had running backs. Now you're looking at Justin Fields. You're looking at what Jalen Hurts was able to do. I even throw Patrick Mahomes.
Sure.
How many times has he scrambled and got big yardage or has put pressure on the defense? So it feels like that the running back position is being devalued because of the emergence of what the quarterbacks can now do.
And how much of it, that's obviously a big part of it, Kirk, but the very best, and take your pick of who the best running back in football is. Christian McCaffrey. Okay, McCaffrey, Saquon, one of these guys. And then the guy that's kind of in the middle of the pack. Well, the pay gap is like this, but the production gap isn't.
Correct.
And it's why would I get into that pay gap when I can get 80% of the production at 10% of the price?
You know, exercise about a couple months ago, and it was one in which I looked at Super Bowl champions all the way back for about 12, 13 years, and the salaries for the running backs on that team in terms of your leading rusher and how much they made. Travis, I went all the way back. The leading rusher for every Super Bowl champion made either $2 million or less.
No kidding.
$2 million. And this is for the Rams as well.
Yeah.
Remember, the Rams' leading rusher in their Super Bowl season was Sony Michel.
Yep.
And he was actually at the end of his rookie deal where he wasn't making the crazy amount of money. The only team that won a Super Bowl with their leading rusher who made over $2 million was the Seattle Seahawks and Marshawn Lynch, who was making about like $7 or $8 million. And you remember, they won that Super Bowl because of the defense just shellacked, Peyton Manning.
Absolutely.
But Sony Michel also led the Patriots in his rookie season in rushing, which he was still making on his rookie contract, and they won a Super Bowl then. It was astonishing just looking at all the running backs and running backs by committee.
Well, when was the last time a team that won a Super Bowl or was even in the mix because they just pounded the ball on the ground? Tennessee, maybe, with Derrick Henry? I mean, he's kind of the most recent one, but they haven't gotten super close to this whole thing.
They haven't got past the divisional round.
Right.
They were in the divisional round, and they got beat up. So they lost to the Baltimore Ravens. So think about that. It's a position that you love, that it excites you, but the reality of it right now is that teams are getting away with more guys at that position rather than just one guy just doing it by himself.
All right, Stetson Bennett, Rams quarterback, scheduled to join us before the end of the program. Should be coming up here in the next 15, 20 minutes or so. We'll have a nice conversation with him. I want to talk about some new faces in some new places, in particular, and how that affects the Rams and their chances to getting back in that playoff picture. That's coming up. It's a Rams training camp special live from UC Irvine. It's Travis and Kirk right here on 710 ESPN.
This is the Rams training camp special.
So you miss it? You look at these guys running around out there, getting ready to play, knowing what you got to put your bodies through, knowing what's coming up next. Do you miss it, or you're like, okay, I did it, that's good enough?
No, I miss the games.
Yeah.
The practices you can have. The practices you can have. I mean, you just want to play, sit out a play.
Like you're a starter in the league, been around 3 years, been around 5 years, been around 7 years, and just knowing how to practice a little bit more effectively, and just kind of knowing when, okay, I got to go now. I can take it. Right. I can keep some of this powder dry for another play at another time.
Yeah, it's you always try to find time in a practice where I need to get my work done.
Yeah.
What do I need to get done to get myself ready for game day? Training camp is different because you're not game planning against a team. Like, you're just going up against your guys. So it's like, all right, I can't beat up my other teammates.
Yeah.
Because I need those guys.
Yeah.
And yet we're going against an offense that we're not going to go up against in the regular season for the most part.
For the most part.
So you get to training camp, you're just like, I just want to be healthy. Just get me to week 1. And then I just want to just let it rip. Just let it go.
And then obviously this Rams team is different than the ones that we've seen under Sean McVay before, where it was a pretty veteran-heavy team with big expectations as far as competing for division titles, competing for conference championships, competing for Super Bowl appearances and Super Bowl wins, and they kind of check those boxes all along the way. This team is different. This is a team that has a lot of new faces, a lot of very young players. They've got some big names too, Stafford, Kupp, Donald, among others. But what is it like knowing in a camp with this isn't a, hey, we just won the Super Bowl last year, we got to run it back, or we just missed going to the Super Bowl last year, we got to run it back. This is a, let's see what this roster is going to be. Is the competition raised at this point because there are so many roster spots available?
Yeah, I think so. Everybody's still trying to find out who they are as a player in this league.
Yeah.
That's the biggest part. Yeah, people are trying to find roles. Roles will play themselves out because you're going to go out there and you're going to play, and the best player is going to be in that situation. I've always said that you're still trying to figure out, do I belong in the league? I want to go out there and compete with the best, because once I get my spot, my opportunity, I don't want to relinquish it. I want to go out there and show everybody, hey, this is what it is. I'm ready to roll. My rookie year, I was trying to figure it out. I played all 16 games. I started 15 of the 16. And then, like, the second year, I had a new head coach, so it was different. But
yeah.
I had to prove myself all over again. And I feel like a lot of these young guys are still proving to Sean McVay that, hey, you can trust me. I want to be here. And that's where the competition part comes in.
It's funny. He doesn't have to prove himself. So I want to be pretty strategic in how I – but Sean McVay is entering a phase of his career that's very different than anything he's done before. Because when he first got the head coaching job at 30 years old, 7 years ago, it was I don't know. They should be brand new. He's a coordinator in Washington. We'll see what happens. And he's a young guy, and I don't know. Let's see. And he comes in, they win 11 games, they win the division. It was like, oh, damn, okay.
It's good.
This is not just good, very good. Then you come back to next year, you go to the Super Bowl. Then the year after that, you win more than you lose, but you just barely miss the playoffs. Then you go back and you get back in the playoffs again. Then you win. It's just been nothing but winning and good stuff. This is the first time coming into the season where I don't know what this team's going to be. He doesn't know what this team's going to be. I wonder if there isn't a little bit of a charge that you get from that. Just the different – I want to have the great players, obviously, but just this is starting from square one all over again.
I think when you've won at the highest of highs, which he has, he's won a Super Bowl. He's been to the Super Bowl. He's been in the conference championship games. So he's already done that. I think there is now a greater appreciation for this process. And I think that he will value the wins a lot more. When they're coming at you the way that they were before last season, it's just like it's the hardest thing. And I think I got this from The Last Dance, the documentary, where you saw like the Bulls after that second three-peat. They weren't having fun anymore.
No.
They were physically trained. It was like, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis. They were just like, we just knew it was done. We knew that that's why they called it The Last Dance.
Yeah.
Winning takes a toll on you. And you would think, no, you win. It's so exciting. And he says, no, because the expectations
are everything.
And you feel like, I got it. I'm a failure for not winning. I feel like this season, you're not a failure for not making the playoffs.
No.
You're not a failure for not winning a Super Bowl. You're not a failure for not winning a division. There's a greater appreciation, I think, that Sean McVay will have this season in winning the first game against Seattle, at Seattle. Like, whew, fellas, enjoy that. We worked our tail off for that one. And we're going to go out next week at home against San Francisco and try to do it all over again. Where I thought before it was like, whew, Bill Belichick, on to next week. Let's remember what we worked.
It's hard to win.
It's hard.
It's hard to win. And that's why I think this season is going to be so fascinating, because there are three ways that this can go as I see it. And tell me what you think about this, whether I'm on it or not.
Okay.
There is the best case scenario where the NFC is kind of wide open.
Wow.
And maybe 10 or 9, 10, 11 wins get you in. Maybe 9, maybe even in a weird world, 8 gets you in. You're 8 and 9. You get through the regular season, and then you make the play. See what happens, right? That's kind of the best of both worlds, where it opens up. The most likely scenario is you got a bunch of new faces. You're kind of thin in some spots. Your schedule for the first 9 weeks is a monster. It is a monster. Really, Indy and Arizona are the only games you look at and say, okay, those are games that you're likely to win. Well, that's 2-7, right? So things don't go great. You get off to a little slow start. You could get buried early, and then you have some very winnable games in the back end, and you finish somewhere at that 6-7 wins, right? Yeah. Which is where Vegas has them. Again, I think that's why this is the most likely scenario. And then there's the nightmare scenario, which is basically what you just went through last year, which is injuries hit the wrong guys at the wrong time. Your young players are not ready to step up at the right time and into these roles, and all of a sudden you're looking at a season where 2 or 3 wins is a realistic possibility.
I have thought about all 3 of those scenarios. I really have. Because I thought about it, because I had the Seattle comparison.
Yep.
They can make the playoffs, and, hey, whatever happens. I've also had the comparison of if they don't make the playoffs, but they play really, really well.
Yep.
And they're either, 7-10, 8-9, or 9-8.
Yep.
Because we talked about the Detroit Lions.
Yep.
Had a successful season of being 9-8.
Yeah.
No, it was a success.
And coming in this year, they're the hot pin to click.
Come on, man.
Yeah,
come on. What are we?
I'm going to need to see that again.
What are we doing now?
I'm going to need to see that again.
So you have that. And then I had this crazy scenario I thought about with Caleb Williams, the USC quarterback.
Sure.
And is there any way the Rams possibly could be in a situation where they're picking, because they will have a first-round pick in 2024.
First time since Jared Goff.
Yeah. Could he be in the plans for the Rams if things don't go because we saw what it looked like, and it doesn't take much for things to go bad. That could be a scenario as well. I thought about that, Travis, that we saw that if 1 or 2 of these pillars are out, we've been talking, Matthew Stafford gets banged up, Cooper Kupp has an ankle injury.
Yeah.
This team doesn't have a lot of depth or that talent behind it that can secure them a playoff or a good season. We could be talking about the Rams drafting Caleb Williams next year. That's not too far fetched.
It's you can see it, right? It's not likely, but you can definitely see it. And then you think about the pillars. Like last year, Matthew Stafford goes down, Cooper Kupp goes down, Aaron Donald goes down. Jalen Ramsey and Bobby Wagner are really the only 2 guys that were there the entire time. But once you start going through these guys, there's just not enough talent behind them to just say, okay, next week. You can only next man up it for so long before the next man up isn't good enough. It's just not up for the job, and that's what they ran into last year, and that was with 10 or 12 pillar pieces.
Right.
Now you're down to like 3 or 4.
3 or 4.
It's a very different starting point than you were a year ago.
Yeah, it's totally different, but there's so many different scenarios that the Rams can play out. I'll also even have another scenario that if the Rams are really in it, and then all of a sudden, Travis, we get to the trade deadline, and there's one move that needs to be made, do you give up a first-rounder? Again, I mean, it's not. I can't put.
Depends on what it looks like, right?
Yeah,
it depends on what it looks like. Who else is doing what? Who else has got their stuff together? Right? Is it wide open, or is there a team that's a heavy favorite? Because
I think about the Jalen Ramsey trade, though.
Yeah,
how shocked we were! Like, what? Jalen Ramsey? You're trading with the Jaguars to get him? Like, what?
It was 2 first-rounders, right?
Yeah,
2 first, and it was one of those things that 100 times out of 100 you do it again.
You do it again.
100 times out of 100 you do it again,
because that's not a, hey, he could be really good. No, he is. There is no might be. There is no he could. He is. He's one of the best in the whole business. He's in Miami right now. New face, new place. Aaron Rodgers is in New York. We'll talk about that. Packers, the Rams, of course, will go to the Packers in Week 11, coming out of their bye week in Week 10. Yeah. Kind of the first chance to see a non-Aaron Rodgers Packers. I feel like we've seen them play 100 times since we've been doing this over the last 8 years. Lots more to get to. Still waiting on Stetson Bennett as well. It's all coming up right here on the Rams Training Camp Special at UCI with Travis and Kirk on 710 ESPN. All right, players starting to make their way off of the field. Kirk, it's got to be nice. You hear that final horn blow. Everybody bring it up a little 1-2-3 team, and then you go get some ice and chill out for the rest of the night. Look at the playbook. What are we doing after we're done today?
Body treatment. You know, you had the padded practice today, so got the cold tub. You know, get the cold tub for a little bit. It's a relaxation period. I mean, there's a coming down period that you do. One of the things I used to always love watching Andrew Whitworth come out here. And he would just take those little walk laps. He will walk some laps after practice because it's intense for a minute, and then you have to come down off of the intense practice and relax a little bit. But for me, I was as soon as I got done, hop in the cold tub. After you hop in the cold tub, you take a shower, get dressed, get a little stretch in, kind of get your regen, your rejuvenation, your protein shake. I'll try to restore some fluids. And in a practice like this, it's dinner time after this.
Yeah, go get a little bite to eat.
Man,
Go
ready.
probably get a little rest.
Yeah.
Get back at it. We're going to be out here on Tuesday. Travis Lee Show will be out here on Tuesday as well. So for the final practice here at UC Irvine before they're off and running, right? And they got a game coming up on Saturday against the Chargers. And you get the Raiders and the Broncos, and then opening afternoon up in Seattle. And here we go all over again, right?
So it happens quick, man. It's like before you know it, practice just started, and then all of a sudden, boom, we're already done with training camp and getting ready for preseason.
So we're gonna be saying when's the bye coming up, what's the playoff picture looking like, and everything else. As promised, Stetson Bennett joining us right now, fresh off of the field. Practice just finishing a few seconds ago. Stetson, good to meet you. Thanks for coming by. Appreciate that a great deal. So how was it out there today? How'd it go?
It was good. It was good. I thought it was cleaner than yesterday. Better execution. We had some guys make some plays, and we made some throws. So it was fun today.
Excited for you. I'm really excited for you because I was there January 9th. Your last snap in college football was a national championship with Georgia. And then all of a sudden your first snap in the National Football League will be in the same place, SoFi Stadium on Saturday against the Chargers. Have you ever had a chance to think about that moment, what it's going to be like for you Saturday suiting up for the Rams?
No. I'm actually shocked that it's coming this soon. You know, it feels like everything's just started now, and we're here now. But no, I can't wait. I'm excited. I know every one of these guys are excited to, the older guys get to watch, and then younger guys get to go play ball.
Rams quarterback Stetson Bennett joining us here. So, Stetson, take me through it. Obviously, you win back-to-back national championships at Georgia, center of the college football universe in Athens, and everybody's got all eyes on you all the time. Every week you're playing. You got the target on your back to coming into a brand-new league, and you're backing somebody up. What's that adjustment like going from being the guy that's in charge of everything going to I'm learning a new team with new guys in a new spot?
It's been, a learning curve. This offense is a brand new one. There's really not a lot of similarities that carry over, maybe some concepts, but as far as terminology and the way it works, not really. So it's really like learning something brand new. But Matthew's been awesome. I couldn't have asked for anybody better to learn from, and we've got the ties to Georgia. But it's been great so far.
What was it like when you heard your name called and the Rams were the teams that selected you?
I was honestly, shocked because I didn't have a visit with them, didn't really talk that much with them. And then when my agent called me and said the Rams are going to pick you right here, I was like, oh, all right.
Here we go.
Let's go. Yeah.
Growing up in Georgia, I know you were a Matthew Stafford fan, and then obviously you guys went to the same university. Just how influential has he been, not just for your NFL career to start, but also your college career and high school career?
We're completely different quarterbacks, I'd say, so I couldn't really take that much from him. He's so big and strong. We play a little bit different game, but definitely, there's a ton of memories. I remember going to the Capital One Bowl with him and Noshawn, and I think they said it was their last game together or last game playing for Georgia. It was 07 or 08, I can't remember. And I was like, why? Y'all should come back. Right. And Matthew went and got drafted number 1 overall, but I was like, man, I wish y'all were still playing. But, just fun memories and then more mentoring stuff here.
Is there any advantage, the fact that you were in college for as long as you are, that you're a little bit older than most of the guys that come in their first year in the NFL, just having been around it as often as you have, been in a program like Georgia the way that you have, playing at a high level, does it give you a little bit of an advantage over some other first-year guys?
I don't know. It's hard to say because I've never been in their shoes, but there's pros and cons to everything, and I think it's really just how you apply them to your situation. I think that's really, really to do with everything, But, yeah, I learned a lot in college. You could say I, could have already been in here for a few years, but, then I'd probably know more about this. But, I'd had a good time, won a few championships. So I don't know. I think it's it is how you take it. But, I wouldn't trade it.
Did you ever have a moment when, like you said, you started at Georgia, left, came back, won 2 national championships there, where it's like, this isn't going to happen for me. For whatever reason, it's just not in the cards for me to continue to say, no, I'm going to go here, I'm going to go back here, I'm going to wait, I'm going to fight. Did you ever lose faith?
Yeah. There's a few times where I was like, well, this isn't going to happen, but it's like, well, you got to do something today.
Yeah.
You're still on the team and you're still there, so you go and you work on little things, and you don't play that day, and then you don't play the next day, and it it kind of, and then all of a sudden you are playing. So that's basically how it went.
You're a legend in Athens, Georgia, but I still love the nickname, the Mailman. Are you familiar with the original Mailman? The original Mailman?
Like Karl Malone?
Karl Malone? You're familiar. I got to make sure. You never know with the young guys. But you are the Mailman because of the picture you had with the post office hat back in your elite. Do you still own that hat, Mr. Mailman?
I think my mom has it stashed away somewhere. I hope she does at least. It's a good memory.
But for you, being sort of this legendary folk hero, to be able to show everybody you won back-to-back national championships, do you come into the NFL with a chip on your shoulder of still proving people wrong or still telling them, hey, I was drafted in the 4th round, but I showed you at the highest level of competition in college football that I'm a winner. I should have been drafted higher.
Yeah, no, I never really had a chip on my shoulder, even in Georgia. I always thought that, whether they were right or they were wrong, like I didn't know, and neither did they really. They were just kind of talking, and also it's exhausting to have a chip on your shoulder. It is to live your life as somebody else's life, to prove somebody else wrong every single day is exhausting. So. No, I just trying to get better every single day, trying to hang out with these dudes. We got a bunch of cool guys, a bunch of cool coaches who know a lot, so trying to hang out with them and kind of get immersed in, California. I'm from a long way away from here, so it's a little bit different.
Brought me to the next spot. We're talking with Stetson Bennett. Have you had an L.A. moment where you've been out? I mean, obviously you were here for the championship game against TCU, but have you had this is home for me moment? This is L.A.
No, but I mean, I've had a few moments that, that were just like, oh, wow, this is not Georgia. But no, nothing that really sticks out or that I kind of want to share on here.
What's the biggest difference?
The biggest difference. Y'all's sun is different. The sun is different out here.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like it kind of like looks brighter than it is hot.
Okay.
It kind of trips you out a little bit.
Yeah, so I know what you mean.
Yeah, it's different.
It happens with my son every day. He says, the sun is out, Dad. It's hot. Nah, it's still about 62.
Yeah.
It ain't 85.
It's not Atlanta, Georgia heat. It's it's 80. The sun's out and it's 89% humidity. We're gonna fall down when you come out the front door.
Yeah.
Look, you had Kirby Smart as a head coach, and now you have Sean McVay. Mm-hmm. What's been the biggest difference?
Well, just the on-field style of coaching and practice, I'd say. This is an NFL team. These are pros. These guys are old. Not old, but like they've played here in a long time. They've got families. They've got, Georgia was, we were pretty intense. Like it was, we hit and we hit and we hustle and we run out here, but it's almost like it comes from inside more than it did at Georgia. Georgia was, Coach Smart was leading us every day, and if we slacked off for a second, he'd let us know, and let us know. I'd say that's the biggest difference. But other than that, they both have a great attention to detail. They know their process. They write things down. It's the same thing. Throughout. Why are great leaders great leaders? It's always the same kind of thing.
Stetson Bennett, Rams quarterback, joining us here on a Rams training camp special. You were one of 14 guys drafted this year by the Rams. You guys got a little group among you of some of the vets. Kind of, have you had to sing the song or carry the bags or do any of that kind of stuff?
No, not yet. No, nothing.
When does that happen?
I don't think they tell you. I think they just drop it on you.
Are you ready? Can you sing it if called upon?
No, I don't know what song you're talking about.
The Georgia Fight song or any of that
Georgia
kind of
Fight song.
Yeah.
No, I probably need to go back over that. Probably not good that I don't know it by heart. But
Did you have to do it?
Yeah, I had to sing my alma mater, San Diego State.
Oh, is that a thing?
Yeah,
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. That was a thing. Probably not as much now, but I would say this too, though. When you look around the National Football League, there is a lot of Georgia Bulldogs out there.
Yeah.
Like, I know that it's like a group chat. It's a group chain. Like, no matter what, after every game, are you going to have to be out there for like an extra 10 minutes when you're doing the jersey swaps and pictures? Like,
I hope so. I hope these, we worked hard, to be able to be here. And, those two back-to-back weren't by accident. They were by design, and they were on purpose. And so it's gonna make me happy every single time I see those dudes on the field.
What's the biggest adjustment to the actual time on the field, college relative to the NFL?
What do you mean?
As far as, is it terminology? Is it the speed of the game? Is it the complexity of it? What's been the biggest adjustment?
Honestly, new offense, but then the hashes are just
that is
just different.
Yeah,
just
because you're always in the middle of the field.
It's a different field. It's a different. It's 5 yards further, which changes everything.
Everything. People don't understand. That's something that we want. I want to have change. I'm going to start a petition about this, Stetson.
Okay.
Let's bring the college hash marks to the Let's bring the NFL hash marks to the college game, because
you can do whatever to college game now. I don't care.
Because it's a big game of spacing. When you have these wide, so basically in college football, the middle of the field is like a freeway. It's like it's wide open.
Yeah,
it's wide open because the hash marks are so wide. Whereas in the NFL, the hash marks are tighter, and now you're working on a game on a perimeter. And so now, is that for you? How have you been able to kind of develop your game, knowing that the spots and areas are different in the college game versus the NFL game?
It's honestly just been a bunch of just throwing, just being out here and seeing it. I'm a big visual guy. I like, that's how you play this game. You got to see something to throw it there, and you got to see guys to see that they're there. So really, it's just a bunch of just reps, and routes on air. Honestly.
As far as those reps go, and you're getting them with, this group of guys one day, a different group of guys another day, and obviously once you get deeper into the season, you're going to get fewer reps than you were if you were a starter, if you're the number 2 guy along the way. How do you stay sharp and kind of understand those little nuances that this guy may have, that he likes the ball here, or you want to make sure that he knows you want to put the ball there? How do you kind of accelerate that process?
I think it's just throwing with them. I've been pretty good my whole career, just seeing how guys run and seeing how they want them. Because they'll tell you if you watch them and how they catch it, if it's more fluid or something like that. And so really just watching the routes on there after we throw them, and then just feeling it out.
Are you a superstitious guy? When it comes to maybe what you wear, how do your game day?
I wouldn't say so.
No, not that. Yeah, no same cleats, because I look at you now and I'm like, he looks the same as he was in college. Just the jersey looks different.
Yeah,
so nothing's really changed.
Yeah,
taller than I expected to be. But
I know people spread stories, man.
Why do they do that?
Rumor mill. I don't know. People
you and Bryce Young are actually a lot taller than people say. But you talk to them, they're like, "Oh man, these guys are just short." I'm like, "No, they're."
No, these guys are just big.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a difference between short and not being one of these guys.
It's all relative.
There's a lot of difference right there. Stetson Bennett, Rams quarterback, joining us here. Stetson, appreciate you stopping by.
Thanks
so
for
much.
having me.
Appreciate you. Have a good season. You got it.
Thank you, Stetson.
All right, Rams quarterback Stetson Bennett right there, and it's got to be an adjustment, right, Kirk?
He's a gamer.
You come from.
He's a gamer.
No, so here's the thing. You know my fascination with quarterbacks,
yes.
right?
Uh-huh.
I am fascinated with them because they just have this. No, man, I got this.
Right.
And he has that, right? He has this. Dude, I may be the backup here, but you understand what I've done, right?
Right.
I won 2 of these things at the highest level along the way. So he's got that little the riz, Emily. I'll use the word that my kid. There's a certain riz that comes along with that is, I don't want to say exclusive to quarterbacks, but they seem to have it more often than others.
I know what it is. He's got the moxie. A quarterback moxie.
Yeah.
He walks in and just like, I'm here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's got a little confidence and swagger to him, because think about it, he beat out a lot of quarterbacks. He may say, I don't have the chip on his shoulder, but nothing was given to him. It was all earned.
Dude, he had to leave Georgia and come back.
Yes.
Right? And
it was a walk-on.
It was a walk-on. He left. He came back, and then next thing you know, he's a 2-time national championship winning quarterback and one of the great college quarterback careers of all time. Put it up against anybody's at any point. You're not going to see much better
Heisman
than that.
finalist, too.
Heisman.
I mean, just say, I beat Alabama. That's all you got to say. I beat Alabama.
Couple times.
Yeah. And we did it with my arm.
Right.
Because he made some of the play. It wasn't like, we handed the ball off. And
no.
We had a great run.
Tore him up.
It was because of what his play helped out tremendously.
I'll say this, too, and just last thing on Bennett. When they beat TCU in the national championship game, so I don't know if I've ever seen a football game where everything one team tried worked.
Yes.
Every play they ran, every route that they ran, every throw that he made, every tackle everything. It was like a video game. It was on it every single time. Touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. They could have scored 100 points that night if they wanted to.
It worked so well for Georgia that the Baltimore Ravens said, we want that guy calling the plays. They stole the offensive coordinator, Todd Monken, who's now with the Baltimore Ravens, said, what you're doing with Stetson, could you do that with our guy Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, Lamar, not a bad starting point there either. All right, we'll talk about some of those guys. Namely, I want to get into Aaron Rodgers a little bit and what the expectations are in New York, because it feels
like a good idea that may actually be a terrible idea. I know Emily's going to like that part too. It's coming up. It is a Rams training camp special live at UCI with Travis and Kirk on 710 ESPN.